I woke up with a mess of noisy voices in my head, like a flock of birds, all screaming at once. I sat up fast and looked around the room. Memories started flooding into my mind, strange, unfamiliar memories, and I realized something shocking. I had crossed over into another world. This place was called the Xiantian continent, a world where strength was everything. Unlike my old world, this place had a whole system of cultivation. Warriors ranked from 1 star to 9 star, and after that came the Hotian realm. In the memories I received, a 3-star warrior could tear a tiger apart with bare hands. A Hotian master could split a small mountain with one palm strike from a distance. And beyond that, there was a legendary realm, the Xiantian, where the strongest could fly through the sky and move mountains like gods. My eyes lit up. Back in my previous life in China, I was obsessed with martial arts. I went up to Songshan Mountain at 12 to train under a master. By 18, I came down the mountain and challenged every fighter I could find. I won every single fight. I kept growing stronger through battle, always learning, always breaking through, until no one in the whole country could beat me. People called me the #1 fighting grandmaster. I thought I would spend the rest of my life bored and lonely with no worthy opponent. But instead, I got swept up in this transmigration thing. Now I was in a continent full of powerful warriors. Was this fate telling me to keep chasing the peak of martial arts? But then the rest of the memories hit me like a bucket of cold water dumped on my head. The body I took over was also named Suba. He was a minor branch member of the Su family in Fengwu City, the capital of the Fengwu Kingdom. His parents were ordinary people who ran a small grocery shop the family gave them. Not much money. Worse than that, this guy was famous at the Phantom Knight Academy, famous for being trash. Almost 3 years of training, and he was still stuck at early 1 star. Most of his classmates had already broken through to 2 stars. Everyone looked down on him. And right before graduation, he finally confessed to a girl he had chased for 3 whole years. She crushed him, told him she never liked him, said he was just the worst of her backup options. She enjoyed the feeling of being worshipped, nothing more. He got so angry he kicked her and ran out of the academy. Then he locked himself in his rented room, drank all day and night, and eventually drank himself to death. I shook my head. What a waste. Chasing someone who never cared. Of course he ended up with nothing. Then I thought about the body I was stuck with and my face darkened. The martial academies across the kingdom were about to send recruiters to pick students any day now. With this trash-level body, I probably couldn't even get into the weakest academy. If I couldn't even get into an academy, how was I supposed to pursue martial arts? Forget reaching the peak. Then I heard it. A beep. System scan complete. Beginning fusion. A strange electronic voice appeared in my head. System scan complete. Fusion successful. One-click recycling system activated. Attribute panel generated. Beginner bonus. 300 enhancement points awarded. Then a panel appeared in my mind, like something out of a video game. Host, Suba. Cultivation, early 1 star. Techniques, none. Weapons, none. Skills, none. Enhancement points, 300. Lottery, 100 points per draw. Storage space, 1 cubic meter. A system. I actually got a system. I couldn't help but smile. Back in my old world, every transmigrator's dream was getting a cheat system, and mine had finally arrived. I tried talking to it, asking what it could do, but it didn't answer. Looked like I had to figure it out on my own. When I put my hands on the bed to get up, the voice chimed again. Common wooden bed detected. Recycling yields 0 enhancement points. Recycle? I touched the wooden table next and got the same message. After testing different things, I figured out the system would scan anything I touch with my hands. But everything in this cheap room was too worthless to give me any points. Then I looked at the panel again. The cultivation rank and storage space both had a little plus sign next to them. I tapped the plus on cultivation. A rush of heat flowed through my body. I could feel myself getting stronger right away. The system told me I had advanced to mid 1 star, and it cost me 100 points. This was basically like leveling up in a mobile game. As long as I had enough points, I could keep getting stronger no matter how bad my talent was. I got excited and tapped the plus again, but the system said I didn't have enough points. I had 200 left, and apparently the next level cost more than that. Fine. I still had enough for 2 lottery draws at 100 points each. Right now, gambling on the lottery made the most sense. I couldn't level up again, and expanding my storage space was pointless at this stage. If I could pull a cultivation technique or a combat skill, that would change everything. I focused my mind. Start lottery. 100 points deducted. Lottery initiated. Congratulations, host. You won nothing. I stared blankly. Congratulations for nothing? What kind of system was this? I gritted my teeth and tried again. Come on, give me something. Anything. 100 points deducted. Lottery initiated. Congratulations, host. You have drawn a cultivation technique. 9 Yang Divine Art. A book with a blue cover dropped into my hands. I opened it immediately and started reading. 9 Yang Divine Art. A supreme divine martial technique. 9 Yang Divine Art. A supreme divine martial technique. Pure yang energy, hard and powerful. After practicing it, my inner energy would regenerate incredibly fast and my body's recovery would skyrocket. Even ordinary punches and kicks would carry tremendous force. My defense would become unmatched. I would be immune to all poisons, and this art was especially effective against all cold and yin-type techniques. The human body has around 720 acupoints. Once all of them were opened, the technique would reach full mastery, and my inner energy would become endless, cycling and regenerating on its own forever. But what did Supreme Divine mean exactly? In the memories of this body, cultivation techniques on the Xiantian continent were ranked in 4 tiers: human, Xian, earth, and heaven. Even the strongest academy in the entire Fengwu kingdom, the Yunming Academy, only had Xian tier techniques. Earth tier once supposedly only existed in the legendary sects. And heaven tier? I had never even heard of anyone having one. Yet here I was holding something labeled above all of that. I finished reading through the book and it dissolved into points of starlight that sank straight into my mind. Every circulation path, every training method, I knew it all instantly. Something flashed in my eyes. Even though my rank hadn't gone up, I felt a surge of power. I had this strong feeling I could punch a mid-2-star warrior to death right now. Was this technique really that powerful? I took a deep breath and told myself to calm down. The martial path has no end. This was only the beginning. I was just about to sit down and start cultivating to really feel out the secrets of the 9 Yang Divine Art when someone banged on my door. Who would come this late? I frowned and opened it. 2 guys stood outside. One was short and stocky. The other had a thin face like a rat. I didn't recognize either of them, but I knew that look in their eyes very well. Pure contempt. I narrowed my eyes. It's late. What do you want? The rat-faced one grinned. Well, sue the trash, so this is where you've been hiding. The short one laughed. We heard you hadn't shown up at the academy for days. Thought maybe you croaked. Idiots, I said, shaking my head. I slammed the door in their faces. They stood there stunned for a second. Then they got furious. The short one kicked the door right off its hinges, and they both stormed into my room. I stood with my back to them, my expression cold. Just tell me, who sent you? Nobody picks a fight for no reason. The short one sneered. Sue the trash, you've got some nerve. You kicked the girl that Brother Wong has his eye on, and you think hiding at home will save you. So that was it. Brother Wong, Wong Quan, a late 2-star genius in our 3rd year at Phantom Knight Academy. He was chasing Jiang Luan too, and out of all her admirers, he was the one most likely to end up with her. He sent these 2 clowns to teach me a lesson for kicking her. The rat-faced one shook his head. Why even bother explaining to this trash? The short one cracked his neck and glared at me. Right. Brother Wong told us to beat you so bad your own mother wouldn't recognize you. So, shut up. Before he could finish, I gathered all my inner energy, spun around, and threw a vicious straight punch right into his mouth. The impact made a heavy thud. He screamed and flew backward, a few bloody teeth spinning out of his mouth. His body traced a nice arc through the air before he crashed to the ground. My mouth. My teeth. He rolled on the floor, clutching his face and howling. I walked toward him, step by step, my face cold. In my past life, I was the greatest fighter in all of China. Fearless. Dominant. I earned my name with nothing but my fists and the respect of thousands. My warrior's heart knew only one way. Forward, bowing to no one. So what if this body was weak? A grandmaster doesn't tolerate insects. He lay on the ground shaking, pointing at me in disbelief. Wasn't Su Ba supposed to be pathetically weak? Wasn't he supposed to just take the abuse without fighting back? Trash, I smiled coldly. Let's see who the real trash is. I stomped my foot down on his forehead. His eyes bulged and he passed out instantly. I held back on purpose. Full force would have killed him. The rat-faced one finally snapped out of his shock. He pointed at me and screamed, "You beat up Brother Wong's man this badly. You're dead." I'm dead. I looked up slowly and stared at him with no expression. I don't think you understand your situation right now. My voice came out cold as winter. He shivered all over. Then he looked into my eyes. In my previous life, I had stared down hundreds of fighters. The killing intent of a grandmaster wasn't something a weakling like this could handle. His skinny body shook uncontrollably. Terror filled his face. He opened his mouth, his eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the spot. Scared unconscious. Pathetic. No willpower at all, I said, shaking my head. Why even bother learning martial arts? I grabbed them both like dead dogs and tossed them out the door. Of course, I searched their pockets first and took whatever money they had. Consider it payment for the broken door and the trouble. I straightened up the room, then walked out. I leaned against a big tree by the road and thought about my next move. No point keeping the rental. The nationwide recruitment from all the martial academies was happening any day now, and with my current strength, getting in was a sure thing. The 9-yang divine art was incredible. I hadn't even opened a single acupoint yet, and my mid 1-star body could already match a late 2-star warrior. Maybe even peak 2-star if I pushed it. I clenched my fist, feeling the power surging through me. Someday, if I could open all 720 acupoints, maybe I could face a legendary Xiantian master even while still in the Hotian realm. In this world, the gap between each level was enormous. Being able to fight one small realm above your own made you a genius. Doing it in the later stages made you a genius among geniuses. But matching a Xiantian while still at Hotian? Nobody in my memories had ever done that, except maybe those legendary figures from the great martial sects. And even if the technique wasn't enough, I still had the system. It might be silent as a mute, but the power was real. With enough enhancement points, I could grow without limit. Ordinary items were too worthless to recycle, but pills, weapons, techniques, those might give me real points. I would find out once I got into an academy. For now, getting into a martial academy was the first step. I found a nearby inn and checked in for the night since those 2 idiots had broken my door and I wasn't about to sleep with it wide open. The next morning, I headed to the Phantom Knight Academy. Right at the entrance, I ran into Manhwa, the head combat instructor for our 3rd-year class. "Suba, come here. I need to talk to you." I raised an eyebrow and walked over. 30 seconds later, my face went dark. "You're saying the academy wants to expel me?" No, nothing like that." He gave me a thin smile. "You did skip classes for days, which violates academy rules. But the leadership is being generous. They don't want to expel you. They just want you to take a break. Don't come in these next couple of days. Go home, train on your own, come back next year." "Why?" He chuckled. "Suba, you know your own level. Today, martial academies from all across the Fengwu Kingdom are sending recruiters here. With your strength, you'd just embarrass yourself up there. Better to skip it, train hard, and come back next year looking more presentable. Isn't that better? Embarrass myself? Right. They were afraid I would embarrass them." I sneered inside. So it was the academy leadership's idea to make me withdraw from the recruitment exam. But this head instructor standing in front of me clearly agreed with it too. Their plan was simple: hide the weak students so the academy wouldn't look bad in front of the visiting recruiters, and then collect tuition again next year. Pretty clever. "What if I insist on taking the recruitment exam?" I said calmly. Yanhua raised an eyebrow. Something in his eyes shifted, like he could tell I was different somehow, but he didn't dwell on it. His smile faded. "Suba, I'm doing this for your own good. You skipped class for 7 days without permission. That's grounds for expulsion with no chance of coming back next year. And our academy leadership has good relationships with other academies. One word from them, and no school will ever take you. You need to learn your place. Understand?" So now he was threatening me. The old Suba might have caved, but I wasn't him. I was the Grandmaster, the proudest fighter in all of China. I came here to chase the peak of martial arts. I bow to no one. I flicked my sleeve casually. "Then expel me. Either way, I'm taking today's exam." I walked past him without another glance and headed into the academy. Behind me, I could hear him cursing under his breath, but I didn't care. The exam was held in the Grand Martial Hall. Up front sat the academy dean, vice dean, and over 30 recruiters from martial academies across the Fengwu Kingdom. All 32 national academies had sent representatives. Every one of those recruiters radiated powerful energy, and even the weakest among them was above 4-star. Meanwhile, the strongest people at our school were barely at peak 3-star. The gap was enormous. The dean and vice dean smiled nervously beside them, not daring to say much. Hundreds of 3rd-year students lined up on the open floor, going through the exam one by one. The testing officer called out each result. Manhwa, strength 630 gene, speed 11.1 meters per second, reaction, average, overall score, 73. Shin Handu, strength 710 gene, speed 12.2 meters per second, reaction, average, overall score, 79. Huang Xiaoli, strength 660 gene, speed 11.8 meters per second, reaction, above average, overall score, 77. The recruiters watched without any change in expression. These numbers clearly didn't impress them. Then a name came up that made the whole room gasp. Wang Quan, strength 1020 gene, speed 14.7 meters per second, reaction, high, overall score, 91. The crowd sucked in a sharp breath. The crowd buzzed with excitement over Wang Quan's results. Wang Quan is incredible, top numbers across the board. Of course, he's the strongest in our entire third year. Late 2-star genius. A score over 90 is unheard of here. In the whole history of Phantom Knight Academy, you can count the students who scored above 85 on one hand. Up on the platform, the recruiters who had been stone-faced all day finally showed some reaction. A few even smiled. Not bad, one said. A minor talent. Late 2-star level at 18. That's decent. The dean and vice dean were grinning ear to ear. Wang Quan was their best student, and getting approval from the recruiters was a huge win for the school. When they noticed, even the recruiter from Yunming Academy, the most powerful one in the whole kingdom, gave a slight nod. Their old faces practically bloomed with joy. Meanwhile, Wang Quan walked back to his spot in line with his chin up, soaking in the admiration. A girl dressed up in flashy clothes sidled up to him with a flirty look. Jiang Luan. Wang Quan, you're so amazing, she cooed. His eyes burned with desire. He leaned close and whispered, Luan, graduation is coming. You know I'm the right man for you. Stay with me and I'll treat you well. You're so strong. Of course I like you, she purred. Wang Quan was just about to push his advantage and lock down a date when he spotted me walking through the entrance of the Grand Marshal Hall. His face went dark. Beside him, Jiang Luan's flirty smile vanished and her jaw clenched tight. The whole line noticed me. Zuba, what are you doing here? The nearest student stared at me in disbelief. Everyone knew the deal. Students too weak to have any shot at getting recruited had been quietly told to stay home. With my reputation as dead last in the entire year, I was the last person anyone expected to see. I kept my expression calm, hands behind my back. I'm here to take the exam. Someone burst out laughing. Su Ba the trash is here for the exam. Does he even have 500 gene of strength? He's going to humiliate himself. Dead last every single year, and he thinks he can get into a martial academy? He must be dreaming. The laughter below erupted like a pot boiling over. It was getting loud and chaotic. Quiet. What do you think you're doing? The dean roared from the platform, his face black as the bottom of a cooking pot. The recruiters from the martial academies were all watching. This kind of noise was disgraceful. Everyone shut up instantly. Then the dean spotted me about to join the line, and his brow tightened. Suba, what are you doing? I paused and looked up at the platform with a calm smile. What do you mean? Dean, I'm here to take the exam. You? Take the exam? His face sank. He glanced at Yanhua, who had just jogged in from outside. Yanhua shook his head with a dark expression. The dean understood immediately. I had refused to back down. What's the matter, Dean Su? One of the recruiters frowned. Is this student taking the exam or not? If he is, get him in line. Don't waste our time. Even the recruiter from Yunming Academy, sitting in the top seat, shot the dean a cold look without saying a word. Dean Su stiffened and blurted out, Esteemed recruiters, no. This student has already been expelled. Expelled? Yes. He ignored academy rules and skipped class for 7 straight days. Terrible conduct. So he was expelled. He spun around and pointed at me. Suba, you've been expelled. What exam are you here for? Get out. Stop disturbing the other students. The crowd parted around me, leaving me standing alone in the open. Students looked at me with pity. Wang Quan smirked. Zhang Luan's eyes flashed with satisfaction. The dean clearly expected me to run away with my tail between my legs. The old Suba would have. But I stood perfectly still, looking up at him without a trace of fear. Maybe even a hint of amusement. Dean Su, you can expel me. But I paid this semester's tuition in full. There's no reason I can't take the final exam. You? His eyes went wide. He didn't expect me to talk back. Then he noticed the recruiters looking impatient. He forced a cold smile. Fine. You're no longer a student of Phantom Knight Academy. Take this last exam and then get lost. He turned to the recruiters respectfully. Is that acceptable? Just let him finish quickly, one said with a frown. The others nodded. I smiled lightly, put my hands behind my back, and walked toward the platform. As I passed Wang Quan, I heard his low, cold voice. Su Ba, you've got nerve. You kicked Luan and beat up my boys. Just wait. Beside him, Zhang Luan glared at me with eyes full of shame and hatred, like she wanted to bite me to death. Nobody had ever humiliated her like that before. I didn't even glance at her. I looked at Wang Quan and dropped one line. Daddy will be waiting. I laughed and walked straight through the crowd toward the stage. Wang Quan's fists clenched, his face turning dark with rage. Zhang Luan pressed close to him, pouting and whining about how I had humiliated her. Wang Quan glared at my back and swore he would crush me with one hand after the exam. I didn't care. I walked up to the testing area. An instructor pointed me toward the exam room with a blank expression. I stepped inside without a word. The room had instruments for measuring strength, speed, and reaction time. The door closed behind me and a red light flashed above it, showing the test was underway. Outside, the crowd was having a great time mocking me. What do you think the trash will score? Even 30 points? 30? You're being generous. 25, tops. What an idiot. Knowing he'd embarrass himself and still going up there. Now he's expelled and can't even come back next year. That's why they call him trash. His brain is trash too. Up on the platform, Dean Su, the vice dean, and Manhwa all stood with grim faces. Their whole plan had been to hide the weak students so the recruiters would see a perfect pass rate. Every other weak student had obediently agreed to stay home, but I had to go and ruin everything. Now the worst students' data was about to be displayed in front of all 32 recruiters. The thought made them sick. Dean Su was already planning to blacklist me from every academy in the country. Then the red light turned green. My test was done. The results transmitted to the examiner's crystal screen. He was about to read them out with the same bored expression he'd had all day. But then he actually looked at the numbers. His eyes bulged. The words caught in his throat. His face filled with pure disbelief. What's wrong? Hurry up, stop wasting time, Dean Su barked. The examiner snapped out of it and announced in a loud voice. Su Ba, strength 1,500 gene, speed 18.1 meters per second, reaction, superior, overall score, 99, silence. Total silence. Dean Su thought he'd heard wrong. Say that again, it wasn't just him. Nobody could believe it. Hundreds of third-year students stood there completely stunned. The examiner repeated the results one more time in a loud voice. This time, everyone heard it clearly. The place exploded. No way. How can Su Ba's numbers be that good? It's fake. There's no way he's better than Wang Quan. He's the dead last of our year. Early one-star trash. And he got 99? That's practically a perfect score. Students were yelling over each other in disbelief. Dean Su, the vice dean, and Manhwa stood on the platform with shock plastered across their faces. The students didn't know, but those three did. Academy exams had an unspoken rule. There was no true 100. The highest anyone could get was 99, because the system always deducted the last point automatically. It was meant to remind even the greatest talents that there was always someone stronger. A 99 meant I had hit the actual ceiling. The three of them looked at each other like they were seeing a ghost. Wang Quan's smirk froze solid on his face. Zhang Luan stared blankly, unable to process what she had just heard. Up on the platform, the 32 recruiters exchanged glances. They all knew the scoring rule too. That meant I was a genuine, undeniable talent. These people had been recruiting for years, some for over a decade, evaluating thousands of students. But a perfect score? They had almost never seen one. Finding one at this ordinary little academy was a pleasant surprise. Even the recruiter from Yunming Academy, the most powerful academy in the kingdom, leaned forward in his seat. He was getting restless. A perfect score. Could that kid actually be at peak 2-star strength? Then the exam room door swung open and I walked out, hands behind my back, face calm. Every single pair of eyes in the hall locked onto me. The Yunming recruiter, a man named Xia Hang, carefully sensed my cultivation level. Then he shot up from his chair so fast it toppled over behind him with a crash. What? Mid 1-star? He didn't even bother picking up his chair. He just stared at me, his expression shaken. This was the first time in his entire career as a recruiter that he had lost his composure like this. Mid 1-star cultivation with a perfect score meant I had the fighting power of at least a peak 2-star warrior. I was punching a full level and a half above my rank. What that meant? His eyes blazed as the realization sank in. The other recruiters sensed my cultivation too. Every single one of them looked like they had been struck by lightning. Dean Su, the vice dean, and Yin Hua all went stiff as boards. They realized the same thing the Yunming recruiter had. A mid 1-star warrior matching peak 2-star power was a once-in-10,000 talent. In 600 years of the Fengwu Kingdom's history, geniuses like that were almost unheard of. Then it hit Dean Su like a punch to the gut. He had just expelled me. The better a student an academy produced, the more funding the kingdom gave them the following year. But an expelled student didn't count for the academy anymore. His legs felt weak. His head started spinning. Then his face went dark and he glared at Yin Hua. After all, it was Yin Hua who first suggested pushing me out. Yin Hua felt that murderous gaze on his back and went cold. Before anyone could say a word, a furious shout came from the crowd below. No, this is impossible. The data must be wrong. There's no way this trash has that kind of strength. Wang Quan stepped out from the crowd, eyes red with anger, refusing to accept what he had heard. Yin Hua jumped on the opportunity. That's right, Dean. The exam room equipment hasn't been maintained in years. Maybe it malfunctioned right when Su Ba went in. Dean Su's expression softened slightly. Maybe that was possible. A dead last student suddenly becoming number one was hard to believe. I smiled lightly and turned to look down at Wang Quan, hands behind my back. Some people think they're above everyone else. The moment reality doesn't go their way, they start doubting everything. In the end, they're just frogs at the bottom of a well who will never understand how strong others can be. What did you say? Wang Quan's face flushed red. He pointed at me. You trash. It took you 3 years to break through one small level. Stop showing off and come fight me one-on-one. Let's see how your 99 holds up against my 91. Sorry, I said calmly, looking down at him. You're not worth it. He was about to explode and charge at me, but then a deep voice came from the platform. Su Ba. It was Xia Hang, the Yunming Academy recruiter. Wang Quan's rage instantly cooled, like cold water dumped on his head. He just stood there clenching his fists and glaring at me. Xia Hang stepped forward with his arms crossed. You? Fight him. I understood immediately. He was suspicious of my results too. Wang Quan challenging me gave him the perfect chance to test whether I was real. If I won, the score wasn't a machine error. I actually had the strength. And Yunming Academy was the strongest in the entire kingdom. Best techniques, best teachers, fiercest competition. That was exactly where I wanted to go. A place full of young elites, each one stronger than the last. Just thinking about it made my fighting spirit burn. All right, I said with a nod. I turned to face Wang Quan, who was grinning viciously, and jumped down from the platform to land right in front of him. Come at me. Arrogant. I'll destroy you. Wang Quan roared and lunged at me, his hand shooting toward my throat like a claw. The air screeched from the force. In his rage, his explosive power surged past his exam numbers, hitting 1,200 gene. A grab like that could snap a block of solid wood in half, let alone a human throat. He wasn't just trying to beat me. He wanted to cripple me for life, so I could never be a warrior again. The students below gasped. That kind of speed and power was beyond anything most of them could handle. They were sure I was finished. On the platform, the recruiters and academy leaders watched without blinking. This would settle whether my score was real or a glitch. As Wang Quan's claw closed in, I still hadn't moved. Dean Su and Yin Hua smirked inside. Probably scared stiff, they thought. Trash is always trash. Nearby, Xia Hang from Yunming tensed up, ready to jump in and save me. He had suggested this fight, so he wasn't going to let Wang Quan actually cripple me. But then his eyes flashed. Right as Wang Quan's hand was about to close around my throat, I moved. My right hand shot out even faster than his and grabbed him by the throat instead. Then I lifted him off the ground like a baby chicken. I swung him through the air in one full circle, then slammed him into the earth. The impact shook the ground and threw up a cloud of dust. Blood sprayed from his mouth. He lay on the ground, shocked and furious, and tried to raise his head. Before he could react, my foot came down and stomped his face into the floor. The back of his skull cracked against the stone. His eyes bulged, he let out a muffled groan, and he passed out cold. The whole thing took a few breaths at most. From his attack, to my counter, to his body hitting the ground, to my foot on his face, just seconds. The hall went dead silent. Did Su Ba just Destroy Wang Quan instantly. Students stared at each other in shock. Jiang Luan stood frozen with her mouth hanging open, her mind completely blank. This is impossible. Yanhua stumbled backward several steps, his whole body stiff. I must be hallucinating. He slapped himself hard across the face and looked again. Wang Quan was still lying there motionless like a dead dog. Yanhua's legs gave out, and he dropped to the ground, face white, lips trembling. How is this possible? He never improved his rank. He was total trash. How can he be this strong? If I had known, I would never have suggested expelling him. On the platform, Dean Su started shaking. His mouth opened and closed, but he could barely get words out. A wave of overwhelming regret crashed over him. Dean Su was falling apart inside. A genius among geniuses, and he had just expelled him. Compared to me, Wang Quan was nothing. If a talent like me had graduated from his academy, the kingdom would have showered the school with rewards next year. But now, all of that was gone like a reflection in water. Shock, rage, regret, it all twisted together in his gut. He turned and glared at Yanhua, who had collapsed onto the ground, looking like he wanted to slap him dead. It was Yanhua who kept pushing for my expulsion, calling me the worst of the worst, saying I was a disgrace to warriors and should be kicked out immediately. Then the students below erupted. Wait, Su Ba never actually fought anyone in 3 years. He was always quiet, never talked back when people mocked him. We all thought he was weak, but he just never showed his hand. That's right. He was always running errands for that girl, buying her things. He probably spent all his training money on her. No wonder his cultivation never improved. All his time and money went to someone else. That girl is Jiang Luan, right? She's pretty, but she strings guys along. And Su Ba, who gave her the most, was her worst backup option. She was blind. A super genius almost got destroyed because of her. The noise echoed through the hall. Jiang Luan stood frozen in the crowd, listening to it all, her eyes blank. She didn't know whether to cry or laugh. But mostly, she felt regret. The one she thought was the worst had been the best all along. On the platform, Yanhua finally understood why my cultivation had stagnated for 3 years. It wasn't bad talent. I had simply never put my time, energy, or money into training. He sat on the ground, drowning in regret. If I were still his student, my success would have been his success too. Then a bold laugh cut through all the chatter. Wonderful. I never expected to find a real genius at Phantom Knight Academy. It was Xia Hang from Yunming Academy. He stepped forward, eyes burning, and looked straight at me. Su Ba, I'm Xia Hang, recruiting officer of Yunming Academy. I'm personally inviting you to join us. What do you say? Normally, these recruiters sat back and waited for students to come to them after the exam, then picked through the applicants like kings choosing servants. But I wasn't normal. The other recruiters saw Xia Hang making his move before the exam was even finished and panicked. If they just sat there, the fish would be gone before they even cast a line. One after another, all 31 remaining recruiters jumped out of their seats and rushed toward me, fighting to get there first. Before I even reached them, the recruiters were already rushing to speak. Su Ba, I'm from Mujiang Academy. We'd love to have you. Su Ba, I'm from Dakian Academy in Luya City. It's a bit far, but I can request a special bonus for you. Whatever conditions you want, just name them. We'll do our best to meet them. Su Ba, Yunming is great, sure, but there are too many geniuses there. The competition and pressure are brutal. You should consider our Hawaii Academy. Every recruiter wanted to snatch me up. If they brought back a high-quality student, their own academy would reward them. So even though Yunming was the top academy in the kingdom, these 31 others weren't going to give up without trying. And their pitch made sense. In martial academies, your resources depended on your ranking. The higher you ranked, the more cultivation resources you got. If a genius entered a weaker academy, they could shoot up the rankings fast and grab tons of resources. But at a top academy like Yunming, everyone was a genius. Climbing the ranks, there would be painfully slow. You'd have to wait for senior students to graduate before you could move up. On top of that, the pressure crushed people. Every year, talented warriors at top academies broke under the stress and quit martial arts entirely. So some geniuses deliberately chose lesser academies. Better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix, as the saying goes. Be the top dog at a smaller place, get great resources, and enjoy the glory without the crushing competition. The recruiters were hoping I thought the same way. All 31 of them made their offers, some listing out impressive benefits, then waited eagerly for my answer. Down below, The hundreds of students were dumbfounded. They had never seen recruiters act like this. These powerful figures from major academies were supposed to be cold and aloof. Instead, everyone except the Yunming recruiter was practically begging me. Most people figured I would pick Huai or Mujiang Academy. Both were strong, both offered great terms, and the combined resources meant my growth speed wouldn't be much slower than at Yunming, minus all the brutal pressure. I smiled. Thank you all for the warm invitations, especially the recruiters from Huai and Mujiang, who offered very generous terms. Every warrior needs resources on the path of cultivation. Honestly, I'm tempted. I paused. So I choose Yunming Academy. Every single student in the hall collapsed to the ground at the same time. Everyone below was speechless. I had built up their expectations just to knock them down. Up on the platform, the recruiters from Huai and Mujiang stood with frozen smiles. Why? They asked. I looked out over the crowd with a calm expression, hands behind my back. The path of martial arts is a fight against fate itself. Even if the road ahead is covered in thorns and hardship, I have no fear. I practice martial arts to reach the absolute peak. I want the pressure. I want the challenge. That is why I choose Yunming Academy. The moment I finished, Xia Hang's eyes lit up with excitement. What spirit! What courage! This is exactly the pride a true genius should have. As the Yunming recruiter, he had his own dignity. No matter how talented I was, he would never beg me to join like the others did. He was a 5-star warrior, and Yunming never lacked geniuses. They didn't make promises or offer deals. Truthfully, he had been worried I might give in to the tempting offers from the other academies. When I started praising their conditions, he even felt a flash of disappointment. But hearing my final answer, he relaxed completely. He looked at me with satisfaction, then glanced at the stunned recruiters from the other academies with a small, smug smile. He stepped forward, and a flash of white light appeared in his palm. He held out a pitch-black token. Suba, this is a Yunming Academy entry token. With this, you can enter Yunming and take the advanced exam. Advanced exam? He smiled warmly. The recruitment test only proves your basic potential. To actually enter Yunming, you need to pass one more test, a test of your martial heart. Only warriors with a strong martial heart can go far on this path. Yunming only accepts the best. If your potential is good but your martial heart is weak, you'll still be rejected. Understand? Understood, I said calmly. A test of martial heart? That was the last thing I was worried about. Xiahang chuckled and patted my shoulder. Based on what you just said, I'm sure you'll pass. Now go report to Yunming. It's here in Fengwu City, not far from the academy. You know where it is? I do. Without another word, I put my hands behind my back and walked out of the Grand Martial Hall. Hundreds of students watched me leave with awe in their eyes. As I passed through the crowd, I noticed Jiang Luan open her mouth like she wanted to say something. But in the end, she just watched me walk away and closed it again, her face full of regret. Yunming Academy sat in the northeast corner of Fengwu City, 3 miles long and 1,000 steps wide, backed against Dragon Mountain. It was the biggest structure in the whole city besides the Royal Palace. About an hour's walk from Phantom Knight Academy. I walked through the bustling capital streets, but the lively scene didn't stir anything in me. In my past life as China's top fighter, I had seen every kind of spectacular view. This was nothing special. Then I remembered the black token and pulled it out of my storage space to take a closer look. It was finely crafted with intricate patterns, clearly hard to forge. The 2 characters for Yunming were engraved boldly in the center. Bit heavy, I muttered, weighing it in my palm. That was when the system chimed in. Premium dark iron token detected. Recycling yields 100 enhancement points. Recycle? Yes, I said without thinking. Wait, 100 points? That's actually valuable. Then it hit me. My face went pale. System, don't recycle. No, too late. The moment my mind had confirmed, yes, a flash of white light, and the token vanished from my hand. My attribute panel showed 100 new points. I wanted to scream. What had I just done? That was my entry pass to Yunming Academy, and I had accidentally recycled it. Going back wasn't realistic. I didn't even know where to find Xiahang. The recruiters were probably already heading to other schools. I decided to just keep walking to Yunming, give them my name, admit I lost the token, and hope they could contact Xiahang to confirm everything. The 100 points sat there on my panel, mocking me. Well, since I already had them, might as well use them. I started the lottery. 100 points deducted. Lottery initiated. Congratulations, host. You have won one bag of premium dog food specially made for Howling Sky Dog, celestial hound of the ancient, immortal Erling Jinjuan. A white bag dropped into my hands. Dog food for an immortal's divine hound. That sounded impressive, but what was I supposed to do with it? I didn't have a celestial dog. I opened the bag. The smell hit me, strangely sweet and appealing. The pellets inside were crystal clear and shiny. Even I felt drawn to them for a second. Then I remembered I was a person, not a dog, and started stuffing the bag back into my storage space. That's when a blur of white light shot past my eyes. Before I could react, something small and furry burrowed straight into my arms. Something was on me. My eyes sharpened and I reached to grab it off, but then I stopped. It was a puppy, tiny, barely the size of my palm, with fur as white as jade that glowed faintly in the sunlight. Its two eyes were ink black and bright, full of life and intelligence. Cute wasn't a strong enough word. The little thing buried itself in my arms and started sniffing me frantically. Then its shiny black eyes locked onto the white bag of dog food in my hand, and it barked twice at the bag, then twice at me, like it was trying to tell me something. This dog must have smelled the Howling Sky Dog food and come running. That nose was something else. While I was thinking, I felt something tickling my arm. I looked down and saw the puppy wiggling its little body along my arm, scooting toward the bag with its tiny legs. It had gotten impatient waiting for me to notice. Even someone as calm and serious as me couldn't help softening. This little thing was ridiculously adorable. I picked it up, set it on the ground, took a small handful of the dog food, and held it out. The puppy rushed over and licked every last pellet off my palm in seconds. It let out a tiny burp. Even though it had barely eaten anything, the puppy seemed full. A faint glow flickered across its body, and I could have sworn it grew just a tiny bit bigger. Maybe I was imagining things. Then it rolled onto its back, all four paws in the air, and patted its little belly with a look of pure bliss on its face. That pose could melt anyone's heart. I crouched down and rubbed its head. It didn't pull away. Instead, it licked my hand, completely trusting. I was already thinking about keeping it. After all, it had come to me on its own, and I had no idea whose it was. Wong Wong, Wong Wong, where are you? Why did you run off so fast? A girl's voice called out from a nearby alley, and a figure came running out. The puppy heard her, flipped upright, barked happily, and wagged its little tail. There you are? I've been looking everywhere. The girl spotted the puppy and sighed with relief. Then she jogged over. I looked up and paused. Long silky hair flowing down like a waterfall. Elegant brows, captivating eyes. A delicate nose, faintly blushing cheeks, soft red lips, and flawless porcelain skin. She was stunningly beautiful, like a masterpiece of creation. The girl walked over and gently picked up the puppy, tapping its forehead lightly. Wong Wong, you've always been so good. What's gotten into you today? If you keep running off like this, I'll have to lock you up. The puppy whimpered softly, drooped its little ears, and nuzzled into her arms. She giggled and rubbed its head. Then she finally noticed me standing there. Before she could say anything, I gave her a calm nod and walked away. Yes, she was one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen. But after that first glance, my mind was clear again. For me, nothing mattered except reaching the peak of martial arts. Women, wealth, power, I let those things come and go as they pleased. The puppy had an owner now, so there was no reason for me to stay. Behind me, the puppy lifted its little head and let out a sad whimper as I left. The girl, her name was Qin Juyue, noticed this with some surprise. Wong Wong was actually a cub of the White Wolf Emperor Hound, a king-level spirit beast. King-level spirit beasts were born with the strength of a level 3 beast and could grow to match a Hotian realm master. They were extremely wary of strangers. The fact that Wong Wong seemed to like me was unusual, and there was something else she noticed. She knew her own beauty well enough to know that most men couldn't resist staring, openly or secretly. But I had looked at her once and walked away without the slightest reaction. She could tell I wasn't pretending to be cool. I was genuinely indifferent, like she was just any other person. That guy? Cold, but kind of cool, she murmured to herself. Then she realized I was heading in the direction of Yunming Academy. A new student, maybe? She blinked curiously, but said nothing. She was heading there too, so she followed along with Wong Wong in her arms. Before long, I stopped in front of Yunming Academy. The place stretched for miles, a massive complex of buildings covering most of Dragon Mountain. It was breathtaking. The top academy in the kingdom, I said quietly. Only Yunming could look like this. Thinking about the challenges waiting inside made my blood stir with excitement. I walked toward the front gate. Two guards stood watch. The one on the left, a rough-looking man, stepped forward and barked at me. "Who are you?" "This is Yunming Academy. No outsiders allowed." "Hello. I'm a graduating student selected by your recruitment officer. I'm here for the advanced exam. Show me the entry token." I paused. "About that, I accidentally lost the token. But if you could contact..." "Stop." He cut me off with a cold smirk, pointed away from the gate, and said one word. "Scram." So that's how it was going to be. My expression darkened, but I kept my cool. This guard was late 3-star, nearly as strong as Manhwa back at Phantom Knight Academy. Starting a fight would be stupid, and losing the token was my own fault. I took a breath. I really am here for the advanced exam. Just contact recruiter Xia Hang, and he'll confirm it. I told you to scram. Didn't you hear me? He waved me off impatiently. Every year people like you try to sneak in for a look. Yunming Academy isn't a place for 1-star trash like you. Get lost before I beat you. Turns out this guy had fought with his wife the night before and was in a foul mood. A weak-looking 1-star kid showing up was the perfect target for him to vent on. The other guard, a thin man, knew his partner was in a bad mood and didn't bother stepping in. In his eyes, there was no way someone at mid 1-star had actually been recruited by Yunming. "You really do look down on people," I said coolly. If he wasn't going to show me respect, I wasn't going to be polite either. "What did you say?" His eyes bulged, and his sword slid halfway out of its sheath, the blade glinting with cold light. I turned away and walked to the side without another word. In my experience, there were people in this world who carried so much negativity that they dumped it on whoever crossed their path. This guard was that kind of person, a garbage human. No point wasting words on him. I would just wait here for Xia Hang to show up and apologize about the token in person. But ignoring him made it worse. His face twitched with rage. He stormed over, raised his massive hand, and swung it straight at my head. The air shrieked from the force. I hadn't expected him to actually attack in broad daylight on a public street. But there was no dodging now. I had to fight back. Mid 1-star against late 3-star. So be it. I pumped my 9-yang energy to full blast and prepared to take the hit head-on. If I could survive the first blow, my Grandmaster-level combat experience might be enough to hold my own against an ordinary guard. Then a flash of white light streaked past my eyes. Something small and white slammed into the guard's chest with a heavy thud. He cried out in pain and stumbled backwards several steps before falling on his rear. It was the little snow-white puppy, Wong Wong. After knocking the guard back, it landed on all fours, rear legs straight, front legs bent, baring its tiny fangs in a battle stance. It barked furiously at the guard, snarling with rage. Wong Wong. What was it doing here? I stared at the tiny puppy standing in a battle pose, snarling at the guard it had just knocked flat. This palm-sized ball of fur had sent a late 3-star warrior to the ground. That kind of explosive power was shocking. This was no ordinary dog. It had to be the offspring of some powerful spirit beast. In my memories, this continent had two kinds of magical creatures, spirit beasts and wild beasts, ranked level 1 through 9 to match warrior star levels. Wild beasts were savage and nearly impossible to tame. Spirit beasts were gentler and could be tamed by experienced handlers to serve as mounts or battle companions. But they were extremely rare and expensive. Most people couldn't even afford a single hair from one. While I was thinking this over, the rough guard scrambled to his feet, seething with rage. Where did this animal come from? I'll kill it. He drew his sword and lunged at Wong Wong with bloodshot eyes. The thin guard went pale and grabbed him. Stop! Stop! Are you insane? Let go of me. I'm going to butcher it. You idiot. Look at what kind of dog that is. If you want to die, go ahead. I won't stop you. The rough guard paused and actually looked at the puppy. The color drained from his face instantly. His sword hand started trembling. That's a white wolf emperor hound cub. It belongs to that person. That's right, the thin guard said, his voice full of fear. It's the personal pet of Qin Jiyue, a core disciple of Yunming Academy. Core disciples were the most talented and powerful students in the entire academy. There were only a handful of them. Qin Jiyue had broken through to 7-star Master Realm at just 19 years old. Her status was higher than most academy elders, let alone a pair of gate guards. Thank God you stopped me. The rough guard wiped cold sweat from his forehead. But mid-sentence, his voice died in his throat. His eyes went wide with terror. The thin guard followed his gaze and swallowed hard. She was coming. A tall, graceful figure approached the gate. It was the same stunning beauty I had met on the road, Qin Jiyue. She wore an elegant silk outfit with a light blue shawl that drifted in the breeze, giving her an almost ethereal glow. But her beautiful face was ice cold. She stopped in front of the rough guard and spoke in a flat voice. You? Why did you attack? No, it's not like that. I would never dare attack your pet. The rough guard's legs were shaking even though Qin Jiyue's voice was calm. That's not what I'm asking about. She tilted her head toward me. The guard realized who she meant and immediately pointed at me. Lady Jiyue, this kid has no entry token and tried to get into Yunming. He refused to leave and insulted me. What a joke. I cut him off with a cold laugh, staring him down. I insulted you? Ask yourself honestly, who started the insults? And what I said wasn't wrong. You looked down on me because of my level. Is a mid-1-star warrior not allowed to be chosen by a Yunming recruiter? You. His face flushed. If Qin Jiyue hadn't been standing there, he probably would have drawn his sword again. Enough. Qin Jiyue's voice was quiet but firm. She looked at the guard. Even if your story were true, is that a reason to attack someone on a public street? You know the iron law of Fengwu City. You know that standing guard here means representing the face of Yunming Academy. Don't you? I was wrong, Lady Jiyue. I was in a bad mood and lost my temper. You were wrong. Slap yourself. What? His head jerked up. Would you like me to repeat it? She smiled gently. No, I wouldn't dare. He raised his own hand and started slapping his face, hard, over and over, until both cheeks swelled up. Only then did she signal him to stop. He stood there with his head bowed, not daring to breathe loudly. The thin guard beside him was just as still. I narrowed my eyes. So this was the kind of authority a core disciple held at Yunming. Now that I paid closer attention, I could feel the energy inside her, thick and powerful like a surging river. 7-star Master Realm. She looked about my age, and she was already that strong. Her talent was terrifying. In this world, after 6-star, each level had a special title. 7-star was Master, 8-star was Grandmaster, 9-star was Great Grandmaster. The gap between each of these realms was like the distance between earth and sky. Yunming really was packed with geniuses. Then Qin Jiyue turned to face me. She studied me for a moment, and something flickered in her eyes. Despite being only mid-1-star, I stood there like an unsheathed sword, sharp, bold, radiating the kind of presence that belonged to a true powerhouse. My aura actually held its own against hers, which clearly surprised her. You must be a graduating student selected by a recruiter to take Yunming's advanced exam, she said, her voice pleasant. I heard you lost your entry token. I gave her a respectful nod. That's right. Recruiter Xia Hang chose me from Phantom Knight Academy. I'm truly sorry about losing the token. Qin Jiyue glanced at me and nodded. Let me confirm. She reached out to contact recruiter Xia Hang. While she was doing that, Wang jumped into my arms again, wagging its little tail and looking up at me with bright eyes, tongue out, like it was showing off for saving me earlier. Fair enough. If Wang hadn't knocked that guard down, I would have been in a real fight. I knew what the little thing wanted. Didn't you just eat? Digested already? I pretended to reach into my jacket, but actually pulled a bit of dog food from my storage space. Here you go, little one. Wang's eyes lit up. It scrambled over and licked every crumb off my palm in seconds. Good? I asked, watching it melt into bliss. It barked happily, nuzzled against my face, and then licked me right on the lips. My first kiss in this world. Stolen by a little female dog. Suba, recruiter Xia Hang confirmed your identity. But wait. What? Qin Jiyue's voice cut short with a gasp. I felt something strange too. Wang suddenly erupted with blinding white light in my arms. After a few breaths, the glow faded. The puppy had grown noticeably bigger, and a new pressure radiated from its body. It reached level 4. Qin Jiyue's eyes went wide. Just recently Wang had been late level 3. Breaking through to level 4 in less than a day was unheard of. My mind raced. It had to be the dog food. Less than 10 grams had pushed a level 3 spirit beast to level 4. I had 3,000 grams. That meant I could potentially raise several spirit beasts all the way to the Hotian realm, the peak fighting power of an entire nation. If I had Hotian-level beasts protecting me while I grew stronger, my safety would never be a problem. Suba, what did you just feed Wang? Could I see it? Qin Jiyue walked up to me with a curious smile. She had clearly seen something. Sorry, I can't show you right now, I said directly. Something this valuable. What if she took it and didn't give it back? She was way stronger than me. Besides, I needed to study it properly first. Her smile froze for a moment. With her beauty and status, no man had ever refused her so bluntly. Something flickered in her eyes. Miss Juyue, thank you for helping me contact recruiter Xiahang. If there's nothing else, I should head in. The advanced exam is probably starting soon. I handed Wang Wang back to her, put my hands behind my back, and turned toward the gate. She flashed in front of me. I tensed up. Was she angry about the refusal? Ready to take it by force? But she didn't seem like that kind of person. Then she gave me a faint smile. Dear classmate Suba, I wish you failure on your exam. So she did have a little temper after all. I smiled back calmly. Dear Miss Jiyue, you're going to be disappointed. Then I walked straight into Yunming Academy. Yunming Academy's Grand Plaza was packed with hundreds of students from across the entire kingdom. Every one of them had been selected as a top talent from their school. Now they were all gathered here for the advanced exam, the test of the martial heart. Geniuses are proud by nature. They sized each other up, eyes blazing with competitive fire. I stood among them in black clothes, eyes closed, perfectly still. I didn't bother looking at anyone. I had no need to. The martial heart test was about your dedication to martial arts. Nothing to do with good or evil. Even if someone cut my willpower in half, passing this test wouldn't be a problem for me. The plaza quieted down. I opened my eyes and saw a tall, familiar figure walking toward us, recruiter Xiahang. He scanned the crowd. His gaze paused on me for just a second before moving on. Everyone's here. Follow me to the exam. He led the way and hundreds of students followed. As I started walking, his voice appeared directly in my head. A technique called energy transmission, something only 3-star warriors and above could do. I couldn't reply the same way yet. Suba, you're the most talented of the few dozen students I recruited. If you don't perform well on this exam and finish in the top ranks, I'll dock your academy stipend for months to pay for that lost token. I kept walking without changing expression, but a glint passed through my eyes. Top ranks, huh? As we walked, I could hear students whispering around me. Did you know? Yuming's martial heart test is famous across the whole kingdom. They say the academy master found some ancient formation during his travels and turned it into an exam. The difficulty is insane. Less than 30% of examinees pass. How? Isn't it just testing your determination? I feel pretty determined. Huh? Wait until you're actually inside. My cousin took it once and said he never wanted to go again. It's terrifying. It is scary, but for real geniuses it's no problem. They can even last a long time in there. If you break the record, you'll catch the attention of the academy's top leaders. Your future would be set. I feel like I could do that. Maybe eat a few more peanuts and sober up first. I listened to all this quietly. My expression stayed calm as always. Hard. I'd find out soon enough. I was actually looking forward to seeing where I would rank among every student who had ever taken this test. Xiahang led us through winding stone steps until we reached a round stone platform. It was smooth and gave off a strange, shimmering color that seemed to pull at your soul if you stared too long. People quickly looked away. Everyone get on. You have 1 incense stick of preparation time. After that, the exam begins. Xiahang walked off with his hands behind his back. We all jumped onto the platform. Some sat cross-legged to meditate. Others waited with barely contained excitement. Meanwhile, in an elegant side hall somewhere inside Yunming Academy, over a dozen recruiters had gathered. They were watching us through a formation projected on the wall, a live feed of the platform and every student on it. Xiahang walked in just before the exam started. Everyone's here, I see, he said casually. A tall, blue-haired man named Chu Tai glanced at him with a sly smile. You seem to be in a good mood, Xiahang. These two were rivals. Not bad, Xiahang replied coolly. I found a good seedling. Should get a decent result. Oh? Going for the top 3? Or maybe first? Chu Tai smirked. Maybe you haven't heard. I recruited a genius who's already broken into 3-star. The martial heart test has nothing to do with cultivation talent. Xiahang shot back. So what if they're gifted? Then let's wait and see, brother. Chu Tai smiled with satisfaction. His recruit was not only talented, but also had exceptional willpower. He was already imagining the rewards the academy would give him for finding such a student. Enough bragging. It's starting. Xiahang turned his attention to the formation screen on the wall, but his slightly clenched fist betrayed his calm exterior. He knew from the way I had rejected all those tempting offers, and from the conviction in my words that my martial heart was strong. Passing the exam wouldn't be a problem, but how well I would actually perform, he had no idea. All he could do now was watch. The incense burned out, and I felt my whole body shake. The world spun around me. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in an endless white void. Every student taking the exam was here too. Where are we? People looked around in confusion. Most had no idea what to expect. A few breaths later, the ground trembled. Everyone felt something shift. The air grew heavy. I raised an eyebrow and figured it out quickly. The space was heating up. "Look at the ground," someone shouted. Waves of scorching heat were rising from the floor. The temperature shot past 70 degrees. Normal people would be screaming, and even though we were all elite young warriors, anxiety crept onto everyone's faces. The temperature was still climbing. I tried using my inner energy to create a barrier against the heat. Bad idea. The heat devoured my energy like a starving beast and rushed deeper into my body, trying to do even more damage. I cut off my energy immediately, and the heat returned to its normal intensity. So that was it. This was a test of willpower, not cultivation. No shortcuts. Fine. I sat down cross-legged, closed my eyes, and let the heat burn through my skin, muscles, meridians, and organs without resistance. A young man in blue robes reacted almost as fast as me, though he noticed I had figured it out a split second before him. His eyes flashed sharply, and he sat down too. Everyone else was slower. The space erupted with screaming and cursing as students hopped around in pain like they were doing some wild dance. Eventually, they all settled down, stopped using their energy, and gritted their teeth through the burning. Meanwhile, in the side hall, the recruiters were watching everything through the formation screen. Xia Hang's eyes lit up when he saw me react first. He laughed. "That black-clad young man who reacted instantly. That's my recruit, Su Ba." Several other recruiters were impressed. He figured out the trick of the heat and cut off his energy almost immediately. That reaction speed puts him in the top tier of all examinees in history. A moment later, the blue-robed young man, Shihi, the 3-star genius Chu Tai had recruited, sat down calmly too. Xia Hang smiled casually. That Shihi isn't bad either. Only a tiny bit slower than Su Ba. Chu Tai's face darkened. He knew Xia Hang was needling him. "Keep watching," he said flatly. "This is just the beginning. Quick reactions mean nothing. What matters is willpower. Who lasts the longest?" Xia Hang shrugged. He knew that was true, but making Chu Tai uncomfortable early on was a nice bonus. Just one incense stick into the exam. About a dozen students snapped awake on the stone platform, pale and drenched in sweat. A cold voice told them they were eliminated for lasting so short. They looked around and saw everyone else still sitting with a faint white glow around their bodies. Eyes shut, faces twisted or calm, still inside the test. Those dozen had finished dead, last out of hundreds. They turned red with embarrassment and hurried off the platform. Before 2 incense sticks had passed, more than half the students were already eliminated. The dropout rate was brutal, but that was the point. Yunming only wanted the elite of the elite. Talent meant nothing without the willpower to match. At the 15-minute mark, a cold voice told a student he had passed. He jumped up screaming with joy. About 30% were still going at that point. In the viewing hall, the recruiters were impressed with this batch. One noted that both I and Shihi, the 3-star genius Chu Tai had recruited, were still sitting comfortably, looking completely at ease. Xia Hang was pleased, especially since I seemed slightly more relaxed than Shihi. He shot Chu Tai a smug look. Chu Tai's face went dark, but he insisted the contest wasn't over yet. Inside the space, the ground temperature had climbed to 100 degrees, hot enough to boil water. The heat tore into everyone's bodies. Screams filled the air, skin split open and turned red. Students started vanishing from the space as they were knocked out one by one. By the 4 incense mark, the temperature hit 130 degrees. Without inner energy to protect ourselves, every single degree increase multiplied the agony. Shihi sat wrapped in steam, his skin bleeding from ruptured blood vessels, his clothes soaked red. He was barely holding on to his last thread of consciousness. He figured he must be the only one left and felt proud, the sole 3-star genius in this class, the undisputed strongest. Then he forced his eyes open to check and found the space nearly empty. Almost. In one corner, someone was still sitting there. Me. My body was bloody too, my face slightly strained, steam rolling off me. But I clearly wasn't suffering as much as he was. I still had strength to spare. His eyes flashed with irritation. "Still putting on an act? You think you can compete with me? Not even close." He closed his eyes and gritted his teeth to keep going. In the viewing hall, the recruiters were amazed. Nearly 5 incense sticks had passed, and both he and I were still going. These two are far beyond their peers, one recruiter said. Xia Hang and Chu Tai hit the jackpot this time. Chu Tai smiled confidently. Shi lasting this long is no surprise to me. That Su Ba is unexpected, I admit, but Shi has been training hard his whole life. His willpower is second to none. Then Shi's body flickered and vanished from the space. He was out. Xia Hang's eyes lit up. So, Chu Tai, you were saying? Chu Tai's face went stiff. Don't get cocky. Talent matters more in the long run. Shi will go further than Su Ba, will he though? Xia Hang murmured. Chu Tai scoffed. 5 incense sticks is already a top score in history. You don't seriously think Su Ba can hit 6? That's Qin Juyue's level. I guarantee he'll be out within a few more breaths. If I'm wrong, I'll walk on my hands. 3 breaths. I was still inside. 5 breaths. Still there. 10 breaths. Chu Tai started to panic. Half an incense stick. A full incense stick more. I lasted past 6 full incense sticks. The hall went dead silent. Every recruiter stared at the screen in disbelief. Even Xia Hang was stunned. 6 incense sticks had been Qin Juyue's record, the youngest and most gifted core disciple, a 7-star master at just 19. She had set that record only a year ago and shocked every elder in the academy. Before her, nobody had gone past 5. I had just broken it. Xia Hang burst out laughing. I knew I picked the right one. This kid actually beat Qin Juyue's record. The other recruiters congratulated him with sour smiles. When Xia Hang invited Chu Tai to a celebration dinner, Chu Tai stormed out. Xia Hang called after him about walking on his hands. A crash echoed from outside the door. Somewhere in a quiet courtyard, Qin Juyue was playing with Wang when a message reached her. She paused, her beautiful face going blank for a moment. 6 incense sticks, and then some. That jerk is actually pretty impressive. She tried to sound annoyed, but a spark of interest flickered in her eyes. The exam was over. Out of hundreds of students, only about 100 passed, nearly 70% eliminated. Everyone who stayed was thrilled. When they heard someone had lasted over 6 incense sticks, they called it inhuman. The way they looked at me changed. Xia Hang handed each of us a white token and a jade tablet. The token marked us as outer disciples of Yunming Academy. The jade tablet contained all the academy's rules, ranking rewards, and available resources. When he reached me, his stern face broke into a wide grin and he slapped my shoulder. Nice work, kid. Just doing what I should, I said with a calm smile. I could tell my performance had earned him some serious rewards. He addressed everyone before leaving. In 1 month, there will be a ranking battle at the Outer Academy's training tower. Your rank directly determines how many resources you receive. Make the most of your time. He dismissed us and left. I was about to head to my assigned quarters when I felt a sharp, hostile gaze lock onto me. I stopped and looked up. A handsome young man in white robes was walking toward me. So you're Su Ba, the one who broke the record on the advanced exam. Impressive. His words sounded like praise, but his tone was sharp as a blade. This person had not come with good intentions. The new disciples who were about to leave all stopped to watch. Who is that guy? No idea, but he must be an old disciple. Nearby, a senior disciple recognized him and gasped. That's Wang Hui, the #1 fighter in the Outer Academy. He's supposed to be in closed-door training, about to break through to 5-star and enter the Inner Academy. Why is he here? Wang Hui walked up and stood over me, looking down with cold eyes. Can I help you? I said calmly. He gave me a cold smile. So you're Su Ba. I was wondering why my cousin Wang Quan never showed up to register at the academy. Turns out someone gave him a severe concussion and broke most of his ribs. He needs another month to recover. That was you, wasn't it? So that was it. Wang Quan's cousin. I put my hands behind my back. Wang Quan provoked me. He should have been prepared for the consequences. A dangerous light flashed in Wang Hui's eyes. You've got guts. So if I provoke you, are you going to try and crush me too? You're just a mid-1-star piece of trash who can fight above his level against 2-star. Go ahead, try fighting above your level against me. The air went cold. Everyone swallowed nervously and shot me pitying looks. Wang Hui was the strongest in the entire Outer Academy, peak 4-star, about to hit 5-star. Nobody on the whole continent could bridge the gap between mid-1-star and peak 4-star. Impossible. Everyone expected me to swallow this insult quietly. Wang Hui was already preparing to drop a threat and walk away. Then I spoke. Fine. Since you're so eager to die, I'll deal with you after the ranking battle. 1 month. Silence. Nobody could believe what they just heard. I had declared war on the Outer Academy's strongest fighter, promising to crush him in 30 days. Kid, do you even understand the gap between us? Wang Hui laughed like he'd found the world's biggest fool. I glanced at him. Wash your neck and wait. I turned and walked away without another word. Enjoy your last month of happiness, boy, he called after me with a vicious grin. The crowd erupted. Within hours, the news spread across the entire academy. The new disciple who broke the advanced exam record had just challenged the Outer Academy's #1 fighter to a battle in 1 month. In my small wooden cabin in the Outer Academy, I tested the dog food with my system. System product cannot be recycled, so I couldn't recycle things the system itself had given me. That ruled out one plan. I already knew from touching Wang that living creatures couldn't be recycled either. But that gave me an idea. If living things didn't work, what about dead ones? Beast corpses from the wild, for example. I couldn't go around killing people, but hunting wild beasts outside was perfectly fine. At my current strength, I could handle anything below level 3 in the outer areas. If beast corpses didn't work either, I had a backup plan, selling the dog food. Its ability to rapidly level up spirit beasts would drive people crazy. But I didn't want to go that route unless I had to. I might need the dog food for my own spirit beast someday, and flashing that kind of treasure around would paint a target on my back. Worst case, I could trade with Qin Jiyue, dog food in exchange for pills or spirit stones that I could recycle. From what I could tell of her character, she seemed trustworthy enough. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. I opened it and found Qin Jiyue standing there. Speak of the devil. Senior Sister Qin, what brings you here? I heard you challenged Wang Hui, she said, looking at me seriously. I did. Do you know how strong he is? At peak 4-star, he can fight like a mid 5-star warrior. I know you can punch above your level, but the higher you go, the harder that gets. You're almost 4 full realms below him. Do you really think 1 month is enough? Senior Sister Qin, sounds like you're not angry at me anymore, I said, looking into her eyes. Are you worried about me? I looked her up and down with a teasing glint in my eye. She stiffened, suddenly looking uncomfortable, like she felt exposed under my gaze. She steadied herself. I'm not that petty. But seriously, maybe you should give yourself more time. I could step in and renegotiate the terms of the challenge. No need. I cut her off calmly and looked into her eyes. My martial heart is simple. I bow to no one, and I never back down. I said I would defeat Wang Hui in 1 month. He will fall. A wave of dominating aura burst from my body. I stood tall and unyielding, like an ancient pine. Something shifted in her eyes. She studied me for a long moment. All right, I believe you. She flicked her wrist, and 2 items dropped into my hands. These are for you. I'm leaving now. Then she turned and walked away. I looked at what Qin Jiyue had given me. A small porcelain bottle and a little bag. The bottle held 10 shiny pills, and the bag contained about 50 small stones that pulsed with a strange energy. I placed a pill on my palm. Grade 6 Gathering Yuan Pill. Recycling yields 210 enhancement points. Then a stone. Low-grade Spirit Stone. Recycling yields 20 enhancement points. In my memories, these were expensive cultivation supplies. A low-grade Spirit Stone cost 20 gold coins. A grade 6 pill cost 320 gold coins each. The total value was over 4,000 gold coins. Back at Phantom Knight Academy, I lived on 15 gold coins a month. Even Wang Hui, the Outer Academy's top fighter, only earned 30 spirit stones per month. Qin Jiyue had just casually handed me 50 spirit stones and 10 rare pills. That was generous. I didn't flatter myself into thinking she had feelings for me after a few meetings. More likely, this was her way of thanking me for leveling up Wang from level 3 to 4, which saved her at least a month of careful training and expensive materials. It was a thoughtful gesture, and my impression of her went up a notch. No time to waste. I recycled everything. My enhancement points shot up to 3,100. I looked at my attribute panel and tapped the plus sign next to the 9 Yang Divine Art. First acupoint successfully opened. 1,000 enhancement points deducted. In that instant, I felt like I could see inside my own body. The Baihui acupoint at the top of my head lit up like a lamp switching on in a dark room. A rush of hot energy surged out from it and flooded through my entire body. That feels incredible. I clenched my fist. My strength had just jumped by 1,000 Jin, from 1,500 straight to 2,500. That matched an early 3-star body-refining warrior. It cost a lot of points, but the boost in raw power was worth every one. The Nine Yang Divine art was starting to feel like it was above even the legendary Heaven tier techniques. I decided not to open another acupoint right away. Like a video game, I needed to spend my points wisely. Opening acupoints boosted my body's overall strength, but raising my cultivation level increased my total inner energy. Both needed to grow together. A powerful body meant nothing if I didn't have enough energy to use advanced techniques. I tapped the plus sign on my cultivation level. Cultivation raised to late 1 star. 300 points deducted. Only 300? Keep going. Cultivation raised to peak 1 star. 500 points deducted. I still had 1,300 points. Should be enough. Cultivation raised to early 2 star. 700 points deducted. No bottlenecks. No struggle. Just pure level ups. I could feel the inner energy surging inside me and the endless power coursing through my body. At this point, I could probably handle a peak 3-star warrior without much trouble. I had 600 points left. Time for the lottery, 6 draws at once. I was hoping for a weapon or a combat technique. 6 consecutive draws initiated. 2 draws gave me nothing. One gave me 30 perception points, another 22 strength points, roughly 220 extra gene of punching power. One more gave me 26 perception points. And the last one. Congratulations, host. You have obtained the ancient divine weapon of the battle victory Buddha, the Rui golden cudgel. A black staff with golden bands on both ends crashed down next to me, punching a foot-deep hole in the floor. I pulled it out and held it. Its description flooded my mind. An indestructible divine weapon weighing 13,500 gene. Yet in my hands it felt perfectly balanced, like it was made for me. The system must have bonded it to me on contact. This lottery was incredible. A technique above heaven tier, and now a legendary divine weapon. I was starting to think I should have spent all my points on draws. Then the system chimed. Beginner period has ended. Lottery rates decreased. Rare item drop rates significantly reduced. My smile froze. So that was why I had been pulling such amazing prizes. I was in a beginner bonus period the whole time. If I had known, I would have dumped everything into the lottery first. But I couldn't complain. My technique and weapon were probably unmatched on the entire Xintian continent. And lower drop rates didn't mean 0 drops. I could still get lucky. With that thought, I felt pretty good about where things stood. A month flew by. In a quiet forest clearing, I swung my black iron staff through the air. Each strike was fierce and heavy, sending out sharp explosive sounds that echoed through the trees. When I finished the final move, I stood still with the staff behind my back. An ancient, overwhelming aura arose from my body. I had spent nearly the entire month in the Beast Mountains, hunting wild beasts. The corpses gave me a steady stream of enhancement points, and I poured a lot of those into lottery draws, mostly pulling perception, strength, and other attribute boosts. Not a single item dropped. The rare item rates really had plummeted, but the perception points were invaluable. After getting the Rui Golden Cudgel, I had gone to Yunming's martial arts pavilion. New disciples could pick one technique and one cultivation method. Since I already had the Nine Yang Divine Art, I copied the best human tier cultivation manual I could find and recycled it for points. For my technique, I chose the hardest staff art on the first floor, the Great Wasteland Demon Subduing Staff. Back in my past life, I trained at Shaolin from age 12, where the long staff was fundamental. I knew basic staff work inside and out. Combined with all the perception points I had stacked up, I mastered the Demon Subduing Staff to its highest level in just 1 month. Normally, even a gifted disciple would need 3 months to reach beginner proficiency. Less talented ones might still be fumbling with the basics after half a year. At full mastery, this human tier technique could rival a Shin tier art. I checked my attribute panel one last time. Cultivation, peak 3-star. 9 Yang Divine Art. For acupoints opened. Arm strength, 15,000 gene. The power of 1 elephant and 5 horses, matching a late 5-star body refining expert. Weapon, the divine Rui Golden Cudgel. Technique, Great Wasteland Demon Subduing Staff, fully mastered. Enhancement points, 30. From mid 1-star to peak 3-star in a single month. With 4 acupoints open, a divine weapon, and a mastered staff technique on top of that, Wang Hui was nothing to me now. Time to head back. The Outer Academy ranking battle is about to start. And my fight with Wang Hui, I said it without any emotion. He wasn't even worth worrying about. This ranking battle was going to be the moment I made everyone take notice. 100 miles from the Fengwu Kingdom lay the Beast Mountains, a vast, endless range filled with wild beasts, rare herbs, and the occasional spirit beast. Martial disciples from neighboring kingdoms often came here to train. I was walking out of the outer region with my golden cudgel strapped to my back, taking my time. Still had a day or two before I needed to be back at Yunming. Then a foul, rotting stench drifted through the air. A rush of wind behind me, something massive closing in fast. A huge shadow fell over me. It was a monstrous snake, over 10 meters long and thick as a barrel, jaws wide open, about to swallow me whole. In that instant, I drew my staff, spun around, and brought it crashing down on the snake's skull. The ancient, heavy aura of the great wasteland demon-subduing staff surged out. The golden cudgel smashed straight through the snake's head, blowing it apart on impact. The creature didn't even have time to scream. This was a celestial wolf fang snake, one of the strongest level 5 beasts, and I had killed it with a single strike at peak 3-star. Anyone watching would have thought they were dreaming. The headless body crashed to the ground. I walked over and placed my hand on it. Level 5 beast corpse. Recycling yields 150 enhancement points. Yes, the massive body vanished in a flash of white light, leaving nothing but some scattered remains. Coming after me right as I'm leaving. Should have picked a better target, I muttered and kept walking. Less than a mile later, I heard the sounds of fighting ahead. I picked up my pace. 2 groups came into view. On one side, for young warriors, 2 men, 2 women, all around 4-star level. Looked like promising disciples from some academy. On the other side, 2 middle-aged men, 1 fat and 1 thin, both above 5-star. The 4 young ones were lightly wounded, clearly outmatched. Between the 2 groups stood a small tree bearing over a dozen bright, juicy fruits. Snake heart fruits. My eyes lit up. These were a key ingredient for refining grade 5 blood tempering pills. Seriously valuable, especially this many. So that's what this fight was about. We already agreed to give you the snake heart fruits. The tallest young man shouted angrily. Why are you still blocking us? The fat 5-star man leered at the 2 young women with a disgusting grin. No rush. We'll take the fruits, sure. But how about the lovely ladies stay and keep us company for a while? Treat us right, and we'll let you all leave safely. Shameless. In your dreams. All 4 of them glared with fury. Not willing? That's fine. We don't mind playing with dead ones. The fat man's expression turned cold. The 4 young warriors tensed up. The tall one stepped forward. We're disciples of the Flying Tiger Academy, a top academy in the Manhwa Kingdom. Touch us, and you won't live long. Threatening me, the fat man's eyes went icy. He lashed out with a palm strike so fast nobody could react. It slammed into the tall young man's chest, sending him flying backward, blood spraying from his mouth. Flying Tiger Academy means nothing. I've killed plenty of your so-called genius disciples. A mid-4-star like you dares talk tough to me. The thin man behind him spoke impatiently. Enough wasting time. Kill the 2 boys. Grab the girls alive. If they resist, kill them too. Sounds good to me, the fat man agreed. The 4 young disciples exchanged desperate looks. They were outmatched and they knew it. That's when I walked out of the brush. Both middle-aged men stopped. The 4 young disciples' eyes lit up for a split second, then dimmed when they sensed my cultivation. Peak 3-star. Weaker than even their weakest member. Where'd this punk come from? Get lost before I slap you dead, the fat man barked at me. I ignored him completely. I turned to the Flying Tiger disciples instead. From what I heard, you gave up the snake heart fruits, right? Good. Then I'll take them. I started walking casually toward the fruit tree. The 4 disciples stared at me in disbelief. Was I blind? Did I not see 2 5-star killers standing right there? And I was going to just stroll over and pick the fruits? You little bastard, you're asking to die. The fat man appeared in front of me in an instant, his massive hand swinging down at my skull with the full force of a mid-5-star warrior. The air shook with his power. He was aiming to split my head open. Watch out. One of the girls screamed. But the next second, everyone froze. They watched me do 3 simple things. Stop. Turn. Punch. The fat man screamed and flew backward like a scarecrow, slamming into the dirt. His right hand was shattered, bent at impossible angles. His chest had caved in, broken ribs poking out from both sides, blood everywhere. His heart had burst. He was dead before he hit the ground. The Flying Tiger disciples stood frozen, unable to believe their eyes. A mid-5-star body-refining warrior killed by a single punch from a peak 3-star fighter? Brother! The thin man let out a grief-stricken howl. His eyes turned bloodshot, and he screamed at me. "I'll tear you apart." He erupted with his full late 5-star power, drew a fast blade, and charged at me with a wild roar. Noisy, I pulled out my golden cudgel and brought it straight down on his head. The ancient, crushing aura of the great wasteland demon-subduing staff poured out. The staff felt like a pillar holding up the sky. His head and his blade exploded together. The 4 flying tiger disciples stood there like statues, mouths hanging open. A late 5-star expert, killed in one strike by a peak 3-star warrior. They watched me put my staff on my back without any expression. They watched me calmly pick every snake heart fruit from the tree. Then they watched me walk away and disappear into the forest. After I was gone, they finally swallowed hard and found their voices. "That guy was terrifying," the tall young man said, still shaking. "When did Yunming's Outer Academy produce someone like that?" "He's from Yunming," a girl asked. I saw the Outer Academy token on his waist. When he swung that staff, I could barely breathe even from this far away, the other girl said. "He felt even stronger than our own senior brother in the Outer Academy. Maybe only Inner Academy disciples could compare. And he's only peak 3-star. The tall young man's eyes were full of awe. "We need to report this to our elders immediately. Yunming has a monster on their hands. The Fengwu Kingdom might actually rise in the next 3 Kingdoms tournament." They hurried out of the mountains. Once they were gone, I stepped back out from the trees. I had only pretended to leave. 3 Kingdoms tournament? I raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Something to look into later. I walked over to the 2 bodies, took their storage rings, and placed my hands on them. 2 flashes of white light. Both corpses vanished. Every bit counts. 2 5-star bodies, 300 enhancement points total. I smiled and vanished into the forest, heading back to Yunming. Today was the day. The monthly training tower ranking battle. Every Outer Academy disciple, including new students, had been called to the Grand Plaza. This was both a test of combat ability for veteran disciples and a check on how much the newcomers had grown in their first month. Out of over 300 outer disciples, only the top 200 earned a spot on the ranking stone. New students almost never broke in on their first try, but these young geniuses refused to believe that. They were all itching to prove themselves. By mid-morning, the plaza was full. Old disciples on one side, new ones on the other. Xia Hang, now promoted to senior steward of the Outer Academy, thanks to my record-breaking performance on the advanced exam, walked up to do a head count. At the end, he frowned. "Where's Su Ba? Has anyone seen him? Why isn't he here?" Some murmuring rippled through the crowd. The new disciples looked around. The old disciples didn't care much. Then a mocking voice came from the veteran side. "If you ask me, the kid's probably hiding somewhere like a coward." Everyone turned. It was Wang Hui, the Outer Academy's top fighter. The crowd instantly remembered my challenge. 1 month ago, I had declared I would crush Wang Hui after this ranking battle. The news had spread everywhere. Right, I almost forgot. Su Ba said he'd take down Wang Hui after the ranking battle. Looks like he chickened out. Breaking the advanced exam record only proves his willpower is good. Has nothing to do with actual fighting strength. Who does he think he is, Qin Jiyue? Even she wouldn't make such bold claims. Su Ba is nothing. Enough? Xiaheng cut them off with a sharp look. Before he could say anything else, a calm voice drifted in from nearby, dripping with defiant confidence. "Sorry I'm late, but if I'm nothing, then the rest of you don't even qualify as nothing." Every head in the plaza turned at once. I walked toward the crowd, black staff on my back, my pace unhurried. A deep, imposing aura rolled off me with each step. "Su Ba! It's him." He actually came. Shouts erupted from the crowd. They hadn't expected me to show up. Wang Hui smirked from the veteran's side. Well, you actually showed your face. I thought you'd hide like a coward. Let's hope you can even make the rankings. Otherwise this won't be any fun." I glanced at him calmly. "My ranking is none of your concern. Worry about yourself. You're about to become my stepping stone," he laughed. Bold. Then his expression turned vicious. "My cousin Wang Quan missed Yunming's recruitment because of you. Since you're so eager to die, don't blame me when I..." He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes locked onto me and his pupils shrank. "Your cultivation. You're at peak 3-star? The plaza exploded. What the hell? He was mid 1-star a month ago. Peak 3-star in 30 days? Impossible. Didn't he take 3 years just to break through one small level at his old academy? I went to school with him. He barely trained back then, spent all his time chasing a girl, so his actual cultivation talent is monstrous. Even senior sister Qin Jiyue couldn't have advanced this fast. Everyone was stunned. Even the top-ranked veterans were staring at me in disbelief. They considered themselves talented, but jumping 2.5 full levels in 1 month? They'd be grateful to manage one, even with plenty of resources. Wang Hui took a deep breath. The shock in his eyes faded quickly as he reminded himself of his own strength. I'll admit you surprised me, Suba. But don't get cocky. Peak 3-star is still nothing. You can fight above your level. So can I. The gap between us is still massive. I looked at him without emotion, the corner of my mouth curving slightly. Stop talking. Just wait. I'll teach you how to behave. Everyone tensed up. They could feel how bold I was being. Xia Heng cut in before Wang Hui could respond. As the new senior steward of the Outer Academy, he had real authority. Even Wang Hui couldn't disobey him. Wang Hui just shot me one more venomous glare. Before leaving, Xia Heng gave me a surprised look. He was impressed by my cultivation speed but worried about my attitude. He sent me a private message through energy transmission. Suba, let this fight with Wang Hui be a lesson. Try to tone down that personality of yours. Don't make reckless promises you can't keep. I sent one back. Thank you for the advice, Steward Xia. But giving Wang Hui a whole month before I crush him was already being generous. He had nothing to say to that. He shook his head and led us forward. Over 300 outer disciples followed him across the Grand Plaza. After a short walk, we reached a natural valley on the west side of the academy, near Dragon Mountain. Lush trees surrounded a small plaza, and in the center stood a white tower, dozens of stories tall, covered in dense, mysterious runes. Behind the tower was a massive stone wall, smooth as a mirror, carved with rows and rows of names that shimmered faintly. At the very top, in the biggest letters, Wang Hui, the training tower and the ranking stone. We had arrived. Xia Heng activated the tower. Every rune lit up floor by floor, and a swirling portal appeared at the base. He explained the rules for the newcomers. 20 people enter at a time. Each floor has 10 enemies. Beat them all, and you advance to the next floor. Higher floors mean stronger enemies, but more points. Keep fighting as long as you can. Say give up, and you'll be pulled out. If you can't speak in time, the enemies will stop before killing you. Only the top 200 earn a spot on the ranking stone. Do your best, he paused. First group of 20. Who's going first? The moment those words left his mouth, I was already walking toward the tower, staff on my back, without a second of hesitation. I stepped forward without hesitation. The new disciples were shocked. None of the veterans had moved yet, and I was already heading in. After a few steps, I paused and turned to Xia Heng. If I remember the Jade Tablet correctly, any disciple who breaks into the top 10 of the ranking stone for the first time gets a reward for each rank. Is that right? That's correct. Good. Then please prepare the rewards for ranks 1 through 10. All of them. Dead silence. Everyone stared at me. Was I saying I was going straight for first place? A new student, 1 month in, aiming for the top spot on the ranking stone? Wang Hui burst out laughing. Did a donkey kick your head? You think Peak 3-star can take first place? You have no idea how strong the top 10 is. And in case you forgot, first place is me. The other top 10 veterans sneered at me too. I ignored them all except Wang Hui. I gave him a thin smile. Wash your neck while I'm in there. I walked straight into the swirling portal at the base of the tower and vanished. Inside, I found myself in a dark, wide-open space. 10 eerie white lanterns floated in the void around me. The atmosphere was tense. I pulled out my golden cudgel and gave it a shake. The staff vibrated with terrifying force. Anything it touched would be destroyed. This was a divine weapon, and its trembling power meant even steel would explode on contact. The 10 lanterns lit up. Beneath each one, a warrior in black armor appeared, holding a weapon. All 10 were around early 2-star. They charged at me together. I didn't wait. I gripped the end of my staff, stepped forward, and swung it in a single massive sweep. The golden cudgel became a black flood of destruction, cutting through all 10 in one arc. Their armored bodies burst apart like blood-filled bags, one after another. One breath. All 10 dead. A white light wrapped around me, and I was transported to the next floor. Same dark space, same 10 lanterns, but the light burned brighter. The new enemies were clearly stronger. I smiled coldly, charged forward without waiting, and brought my staff crashing down on the nearest one, a mid-3-star black-armored warrior. Come on, inside the tower, I was unstoppable. Each floor, 10 enemies. I crushed them all. My 15,000 gene of raw power turned the golden cudgel into a black storm of destruction. Limbs and broken armor flew everywhere. Not a single enemy lasted more than one exchange with me. The Nine-Yang divine art kept my inner energy cycling and recovering at incredible speed. Even fighting this hard, I wasn't even breathing heavy. Wave after wave of enemies appeared and fell. I climbed the floors faster than anyone expected. Outside the tower, almost everyone was watching my progress instead of the other examinees. I had talked too big. They all wanted to see me fail. Let's see if he can even last 5 incense sticks. Everyone in the top 10 takes at least that long. He's talented, sure. Give him a few months, and maybe he could reach first. But right now? 2 green, 1 incense stick passed. 2, 3. At the start of the 4th, someone glanced at the ranking stone from the top and let out a scream. He's already at rank 30. The whole crowd went silent, then erupted. For incense sticks haven't even passed, and he's already at 30? That killing speed is something only top 10 fighters can manage. Some people try to dismiss it. He's burning through his energy recklessly. The top fighters pace themselves to last longer and score more points. He'll hit a wall soon. True, but still, he's a brand new student and he just broke into the top 30 on his first try. In over 100 years of Yunming Academy, probably fewer than 10 people have ever done that. In the crowd, Wang Hui watched with dark, jealous eyes. He admitted to himself that in a few months, I might actually surpass him. But right now, I had overreached. He decided he would destroy me in their fight, crush my martial heart so badly I would never recover. Xiaheng watched from the side, impressed but convinced I had gone too hard too fast. He figured I would burn out and get knocked out of the tower soon. He hoped the lesson would teach me some humility. And somewhere in the shadows at the edge of the valley, a beautiful figure stood holding a snow-white puppy, quietly watching everything unfold, a hint of worry on her face. But what happened next was beyond everyone's expectations. After pausing briefly at rank 30, my name started jumping again on the ranking stone. 29, 28, 27, straight to 25. How is he still climbing this fast? The veterans couldn't believe it. Climbing quickly at this stage meant I was still killing at an insane pace, even though the enemies were getting much stronger. Faster kills meant burning through more energy and stamina. Does this guy ever get tired? Is he a machine? Then my name jumped again. 24, 22, 20, 18, all the way to 15. The plaza went dead quiet. Everyone stared at each other, speechless. Even Xiaheng looked like he'd seen a ghost. For incense sticks hadn't even finished burning, and I was already at 15. A peak 3-star newcomer. Only the absolute freaks in Yuming's history could have done this. Xiaheng started to think maybe my arrogance wasn't completely unfounded. But surely I'd stop around the top 10. Wang Hui was still out of reach. He was wrong. In less than half an incense stick more, my name kept climbing. 15, 12, 10, 8, 5, 3, 2. Then the top spot on the ranking stone flickered. Wang Hui's name faded away. A new name appeared in its place. Su Ba, rank 1. The crowd erupted like thunder. He actually hit first place. He beat Wang Hui's all-time record. A new student just did the impossible. It took him exactly 4 incense sticks. What kind of monster is he? Xiaheng stood there with his jaw hanging open. I kept fighting for another full incense stick before the tower finally sent me out. I sat down cross-legged on the ground to recover. Every eye in the plaza was locked on me. Shock, awe, fear, admiration, every emotion imaginable. Once the ranking battle was halfway through, I opened my eyes and stood up. People tensed. They watched me walk straight past every other veteran, ignoring them all, until I stopped in front of Wang Hui. His face was dark as a storm. I put my hands behind my back, slowly drew a finger across my own neck, and spoke calmly. Wang Hui, did you wash your neck? A brief stir rippled through the crowd. Then everyone went quiet and looked at Wang Hui. His face was terrifyingly dark. He stared at me in silence. Then suddenly he laughed, wild and unrestrained. Su Ba, I'll admit your talent is beyond anything I imagined. But do you really think you've already won? His eyes flashed with contempt. That ranking was based on my performance last month. I wasn't even going all out. And in the past month, things have changed. A massive wave of energy erupted from his body, crashing outward like a tidal wave. Xiaheng's expression tightened. Wang Hui, you broke through to 5-star. The crowd exploded with chatter. He was only 4-star a few months ago, already 5-star. 5-star means he qualifies for the inner academy. At 5-star, the gap between each small level is as big as a full realm before. Su Ba is in serious trouble now. The crowd parted, clearing a wide space for the two of us. Everyone knew the main event was about to begin. Some who had been rooting for me started shaking their heads. Wang Hui's aura kept climbing, pushing weaker disciples backward. Even Xia Heng looked grim. He was late 5-star himself and wasn't sure he could beat Wang Hui now. Su Ba, Wang Hui called out, grinning. You use a staff, right? Better pull it out now, because soon you won't even get the chance. Want me to give you 3 free moves first? Everyone looked at me with pity. If only Wang Hui hadn't broken through, I might have actually pulled off something historic. A new student crushing the Outer Academy's champion in his first month. But my expression didn't change at all. I looked at his smug face and let the corner of my mouth curve upward. Give me 3 moves? You won't even survive 1 strike. I drew the golden cudgel and brought it crashing down toward him. The swing looked slow, its path perfectly clear, but in a blink it was already above his head. Wang Hui's expression shifted. He reached for his sword. Then an ancient, overwhelming pressure exploded from my body. Everyone watching felt as though a vast, endless wasteland had appeared before their eyes, and at its center, a colossal iron pillar reaching into the heavens. They felt themselves shrinking, becoming insignificant. Xia Heng nearly fell over in shock. His whole body trembled as he stared at me. Martial intent. Su Ba has comprehended martial intent. Xia Heng's scalp went numb. Martial intent was something that only the most gifted warriors could comprehend after fully mastering a technique. Normally, you needed to reach at least 7-star Master Realm to even begin touching it. When Qin Jiyue had grasped martial intent at early 5-star, it shook the entire academy. The headmaster had called her the greatest talent in 100 years. And here I was, peak 3-star, having mastered the hardest human-tier staff technique in just 1 month and comprehended the great wasteland staff intent on top of it. This wasn't genius anymore. This was something beyond. Xia Heng could already imagine the chaos if word reached the inner academy. The elders had nearly torn the place apart fighting over Qin Jiyue. If they learned about someone with even greater talent, they might level half of Dragon Mountain. The new disciples didn't understand what was happening. They just felt the crushing pressure from my strike and could barely breathe. But the veteran disciples stood with mouths hanging open, faces white with shock. They knew exactly what martial intent meant. In the shadows at the edge of the valley, Qin Jiyue watched with Wang in her arms. A quiet smile spread across her face. That jerk. He's not bad at all, is he, Wang? Woof woof. The little dog wagged its tail excitedly. She smiled, petted its head, and walked away. She already knew the outcome. On the battlefield, Wang Hui felt the ancient, crushing force bearing down on him, and his whole body shook. He refused to accept it. With bloodshot eyes, he roared and swung his sword upward. Flowing moon, 18 slashes, a storm of sword light erupted, cutting and flashing toward the massive phantom staff descending from above. It was his strongest killing move, fully mastered, amplified by his 5-star power. It didn't matter. The colossal staff crushed through every last blade of light like they were paper. The remaining force slammed straight into Wang Hui. Blood sprayed from his mouth. His knees buckled and he crashed to the ground, both kneecaps smashing shallow craters into the stone. Cracks spread outward from where he knelt like a spider's web. I put the golden cudgel on my back, stood over him with my hands clasped behind me, and looked down at his ashen face. I told you, you can't even survive 1 strike. The plaza went silent for a few breaths. Then it erupted. I had won. I had created a miracle. Peak 3-star defeating early 5-star. 1 month after entering the academy, I had gone from a new student to the #1 fighter in the Outer Academy. Every eye was on me, filled with awe, admiration, and respect. In Yunmeng, strength was everything, and I had just proven mine beyond any doubt. Some of the female disciples were staring at me with shining eyes. I wasn't classically handsome, but my sharp, determined features and the dominating aura I carried, steady as a mountain, unyielding as iron, had its own kind of appeal. Add in the monstrous talent, and apparently that was quite the combination. Meanwhile, miles away at the Wang family estate, Wang Quan was lying in bed wrapped in bandages, with Zhang Luan sitting beside him. I heard today is the fight between your cousin and Su Ba, she said. Wang Quan scoffed. Don't call it a fight. That word is for people on the same level. My cousin already broke through to 5-star. Crushing Su Ba will be like playing a game. He told me he'd destroy Su Ba's martial heart completely, break him so badly he'd never recover. The good news should be coming any minute now. He was still bitter. Because of me, he had missed Yunming's recruitment and would have to either join a lesser academy or waste a whole year repeating at school. He wanted me torn apart. Jiang Luan nodded with anticipation in her eyes. The more impressive I became, the worse her judgment looked for rejecting me. Since she knew I would never want her anyway, she would rather see me destroyed. A knock came at the door. That must be the news. Open it, Wang Quan said excitedly. A man wearing a Yunming Outer Academy token walked in. A friend Wang Quan knew through Wang Hui. Brother Lu. So how did it go? Did my cousin stomp that bastard Su Ba into the ground? Stomp Su Ba into the ground? The man called Brother Lu looked at Wang Quan with a strange expression. What's wrong? Are you sick or something? Wang Quan asked, confused by his face. Brother Lu glared at him. Wang Hui told me to pass you a message. Stop messing with Su Ba. He can't help you anymore. He turned to leave. Wait, what? I don't understand. Brother Lu stopped and said flatly. Today Su Ba challenged Wang Hui. One strike from Su Ba's staff, and Wang Hui was on his knees, unable to get up. Su Ba is now the #1 fighter in the Outer Academy. Understand. He shook his head and walked out without looking back. The room went dead silent. Jiang Luan froze like a wooden statue. Wang Quan's mouth hung open, eyes wide, the same words echoing in his skull over and over. Then a thud. He rolled off the bed, followed by an agonized scream. Back at Yunming, I was already in my cabin, sitting cross-legged. I had no interest in watching other people's exams. In front of me sat 10 white porcelain bottles, the rewards for reaching each rank in the top 10 for the first time. The pills ranged from grade 3 to grade 5 gathering yuan pills, 10 per bottle. Grade 3 pills in 4 bottles, grade 4 in 3, grade 5 in 3. Should be over 10,000 enhancement points when I recycle them all. Not bad. Then I remembered the 2 storage rings I had taken from those bandits in the Beast Mountains. I checked inside. Over 200 low-grade spirit stones. More than a dozen bottles of pills ranging from grade 1 to 6, some human tier swords, and 2 techniques. Iron Sandpalm and Cold Wind Sword, both mid-human tier. I had no interest in those, so I recycled them immediately. The loot from those 2 rings actually exceeded the total rewards from reaching first place on the ranking stone. Now I understand why some people love killing for treasure, I muttered with a dry smile. It was the fastest way to get rich. But that thought passed quickly. I wasn't that kind of person. I only killed those who deserved it. I kept a few healing pills aside for emergencies. Everything else, recycled. Should be a good haul this time. I opened my attribute panel. Over 30,000 enhancement points. My heart stirred with excitement, but I calmed down quickly and started tapping the plus sign on my cultivation level. Late 3-star to early 4-star, 3,500 points. Mid 4-star for 1,000 points. Late 4-star for 1,500 points. Peak 4-star, 5,000 points. For levels and seconds. Warm surges of power flowed through my body with each breakthrough. I had jumped from peak 3-star all the way to peak 4-star. The speed was absurd. I had 13,620 points left. I tapped the plus on the 9 Yang Divine Art. 5th acupoint opened. 5,000 points deducted. I could see inside my body, for acupoints already glowing along the back of my head. Bai Wei, Howding, Feng Fu, Yamen. Each one pulsed with warmth. Now a 5th one, the Wangu acupoint beside Feng Fu, blazed to life. A flood of scorching energy poured out and rushed through my entire body. My bones crackled and popped. I clenched both fists. 20,000 Gene. A jump of 5,000 Gene in raw strength. The power of 2 elephants. My physical toughness had reached a level that even peak 5-star body refining geniuses probably couldn't match. I had about 8,000 points remaining. Time for the lottery. The item drop rates were still terrible, but the attribute boosts, perception, strength, constitution, soul power, were all genuinely useful. Perception especially. Strength and toughness could be improved through techniques and training, but perception was something you were born with. Without special pills or miraculous methods, it barely changed throughout your life. It determined how fast you could master techniques, comprehend deeper meanings, and break through bottlenecks. It was the single biggest factor in separating true geniuses from everyone else. My high perception was exactly why I had mastered the demon-subduing staff and comprehended its martial intent in just 1 month. More perception would only help, especially since I would be learning much stronger techniques going forward. No hesitation. I launched an 80-draw lottery spree. The 80 draw lottery began. Most pulls gave me attribute boosts: perception, strength, soul power, constitution, with plenty of empty draws mixed in. Each boost was small on its own, but stacked together, I could feel my body growing tougher, my mind becoming sharper and clearer. Then on the very last draw, something different appeared. Congratulations, host. You have drawn a talent. Alchemy Mastery. A cool sensation flooded my mind for a few breaths, then vanished. I checked my attribute panel. A new category had appeared: Talent. Alchemy Mastery. Increases pill success rate by 50%, increases pill yield by 50%, increases pill quality by 50%. So it was related to pill making. I was a little disappointed. Something like Combat Mastery or Technique Mastery would have been more exciting. But I adjusted quickly. It might come in handy someday. Looking at the big picture, the 80 draws had pushed my raw strength up to 24,000 gene, the power of 2 elephants and 4 horses. My perception boost also deepened my understanding of the demon-subduing staff, advancing my martial intent from beginner to minor completion. Each step in martial intent doubled the technique's power. My soul power had improved too. My senses felt much sharper, though I wasn't sure yet what other benefits that would bring. I've completely outgrown the outer academy now, I muttered. But the requirement for the inner academy is 5-star cultivation. I kicked myself for not spending my points on leveling up first. If I had pushed straight to 5-star, I could have entered the inner academy immediately. Bad planning. Just then, someone knocked on my door. It was Xiahang. The moment he saw me, his usual cold expression melted into a warm smile, almost flattering. "Su Ba, would you like to enter the inner academy?" Enter the inner academy? I was surprised. Wasn't 5-star cultivation the requirement? Xiahang smiled. "Your talent is extraordinary, your combat power is off the charts, and you comprehended martial intent at peak 3-star. Staying in the outer academy is a complete waste of your time. I've already sent your information to the headmaster. He was deeply impressed and gave special permission for you to enter the inner academy. He's also arranged for Elder Xiao, a staff arts master, to take you as his disciple. Elder Xiao has a terrible temper, but his Scorpion King Tiger Crushing staff technique is the finest in all of Yunming. He'll be a great help to you. Good news." Entering the inner academy meant stronger opponents and bigger challenges. Exactly what I wanted. As for having a master, I didn't mind either way. With the system, a teacher wasn't critical. What mattered most was earning enhancement points. Enhancement points. That reminded me of something. By the way, Xiahang, is alchemy a profitable profession? Profitable? It's the most profitable side profession there is, he answered automatically. Pills are consumed constantly. Alchemists are always wealthy. Our elder Hu, the resident alchemist, is only 8-star, but his fortune probably exceeds every Hotian realm elder in Yunming combined. My eyes lit up. If I could make pills and sell them, I could buy materials to recycle for enhancement points. With my alchemy mastery talent boosting success rate, yield, and quality by 50% each, this could be a gold mine. I've decided. Please introduce me to Elder Hu. I want to learn alchemy. Oh, sure. Wait. What? Xiahang's eyes went wide. You want to learn alchemy? Yes. I think I have real talent for it. He stared at me, speechless. I could practically read his thoughts. Why would someone with the greatest martial talent he'd ever seen want to waste time making pills? Then his gaze swept over me more carefully. His face froze. His eyes bulged. Several breaths passed before he managed to speak. Good heavens. Su Ba, you're at peak 4-star now? Xiahang looked like his head was about to explode. He stared at me, stammering. Su Ba, are you even human? I couldn't blame him for freaking out. Just hours ago at the ranking battle, I was peak 3-star. Now I was peak 4-star. That kind of jump didn't happen to anyone, ever. I realized I might have upgraded a little too obviously. I rubbed my nose and made something up. I'm not sure what happened either. While I was cultivating after I got back, everything went quiet. I could only hear my own heartbeat. It felt like my soul had left my body. Xiahang's expression changed instantly. He took a deep breath. Su Ba, did you enter a state of enlightenment? Enlightenment? Yes. That must be it. He looked at me with a mix of envy and amazement. There are ancient records on the Xiantian continent about warriors entering an extremely rare state during cultivation called enlightenment. Legend says a powerful warrior once entered this state, and their cultivation skyrocketed overnight, making them one of the strongest in the world. Most people who experience it just cultivate faster than normal. But breaking through multiple realms at once like you did, That's happened maybe fewer than 5 times in the past 1,000 years. He looked at me like I was some kind of freak of nature. I see, I said calmly, nodding. Inside, I was a little amused. I had made the whole thing up, and he had filled in the rest perfectly on his own. I made a mental note to be more careful with my leveling speed in the future. Anyway, enough about that. Take me to Elder Hu, the alchemist. You're really sure about this? Xiahang hesitated. The headmaster assigned you to Elder Xiao. Your information is probably already on his desk. If you go to Elder Hu instead, Elder Xiao might. Well, Elder Hu might be in danger. He shivered thinking about Elder Xiao's explosive temper. What? Is Elder Xiao going to kill Elder Hu over it? I frowned. Who I choose as my master is my own business. My mind is made up. Lead the way. A wave of commanding authority poured out of me. Unquestionable, absolute. Xiaheng flinched. Something about the pressure I gave off actually made him feel a flicker of fear. He took a deep breath and nodded. All right, follow me. He gave me one long look. This kid is actually a little frightening. Then turned and led the way. Xiaheng walked behind me, guiding the way. I could tell he was both impressed and puzzled. Here I was, a monstrous talent who had comprehended martial intent at peak 3-star, something most 7-star masters couldn't achieve, and now at peak 4-star, strong. Enough that even he probably couldn't take a single blow from me. Yet I was turning down the headmaster's hand-picked staff arts master to go study pill-making instead. He was probably thinking, are all true geniuses this unfocused? We climbed the main peak of Dragon Mountain until the view opened up. The inner academy spread out before us. Elegant buildings, private courtyards, individual houses. A massive upgrade from the shabby wooden cabin I had in the outer academy. Then I noticed something. A tall white stone monument in the distance with a large sheet of paper covered in names. What's that? I asked. Xiaheng smiled. That's the Inner Academy Heroes list. The headmaster and elders created it based on the 3 Kingdoms elite ranking. It shows the 36 strongest Inner Academy disciples. I looked at the top name, Wen Tianyu. He's the current #1 in the Inner Academy, Xiaheng explained, his tone carrying some reverence. Incredibly talented, already at peak 6-star. He could break through to 7-star Master Realm anytime and become a core disciple. His Wild Wind Blade technique is unmatched in the Inner Academy. He comprehended blade intent at late 5-star. Very impressive perception, though still not as good as yours. And the 3 Kingdoms elite ranking you mentioned? I asked. That's a ranking covering the 3 nations in the eastern region of the continent, including our Fengwu Kingdom. It lists the top 18 warriors under 25 years old who are at 7-star Master Realm or above. Only core disciples from the top academies qualify. Those 18 people represent the absolute strongest young warriors across all 3 nations. Xiaheng's voice filled with pride. You know, our Qin Jiyue defeated the 18th ranked fighter on the 3 Kingdoms elite ranking shortly after reaching 7-star. She's now ranked 16th. In another year or so, she'll probably surpass Wei Biao, our top core disciple who sits at 4th. She's truly Yunming's pride. He looked at me with expectation. Su Ba, your talent exceeds even Qin Jiyue's. Someday, you need to take the #1 spot on that ranking and bring glory to our kingdom. #1 on the 3 Kingdoms elite ranking? That was definitely happening. But first things first, I needed to conquer the Inner Academy. We arrived at my assigned quarters. I stared at the building in front of me. A rundown wooden shack. Exactly like the one I had in the Outer Academy. Weren't those nice buildings back there for Inner Academy disciples? I asked, looking over my shoulder at the elegant houses with private courtyards. Xiaheng explained. Those are for inner disciples, yes, but only the 36 who made the heroes list. Everyone else gets a wooden cabin. The headmaster designed it this way to motivate disciples to push harder. How do you get on the heroes list? Direct challenge, yes. Any inner disciple can challenge someone on the list at any time. Win, and you take their spot and their house immediately. So if I challenge someone right now and win, I move in today. Xiaheng nodded slowly. Yes, but Su Ba, don't tell me you're. Who lives in that one? I pointed at the nearest nice house. That's Lu Niu, ranked 33rd. Peak 5-star, with a terrifying bull fist technique. His arm strength recently hit 20,000 gene. He's a genuine body-refining genius. Hey, where are you going? I was already walking toward the house. I'm going to tell him to clear out his stuff. I need the room. What? Xiaheng chased after me. Su Ba, don't be reckless. Lu Niu is nothing like Wang Hui. He's a true talent on the heroes list. You just got to the Inner Academy. By the time Xia Heng caught up, I was already standing in front of the house. The courtyard gate was shut. I almost kicked it open, but then stopped myself. This was about to be my place. No point breaking my own door. I took a deep breath and shouted toward the building. Lunyo, come out and face your death. My voice echoed across the area. Xia Heng went pale. Nearby disciples stopped in their tracks, staring at me in confusion. Who is this 4-star nobody? How did he even get into the inner academy? Is he insane? Challenging a heroes list fighter, telling Lunyo to come out and die? This kid is finished. The courtyard gate flew open and a massive, bull-like man stormed out, muscles rippling, eyes blazing. Who's screaming at my door? He locked onto me immediately. You? His aura crashed over me like a wave. I didn't flinch. That's right. I'll be generous. You have 1 incense stick to pack your things and get out. Dead silence. Everyone looked at each other. Did he just tell Lunyo to pack up and leave? Lunyo stared at me blankly, then almost laughed. Kid, I've met arrogant people, but never anyone this crazy. You came here looking for a beating? 4 minutes and 50 seconds left, I said calmly, hands behind my back. His face twisted with rage. You're dead. He lunged forward and threw a massive punch. The air itself seemed to explode from the force. The crowd gasped. That's the power of the heroes list. His bull fist has gotten even stronger. 20,000 gene of force. The power of 2 elephants. 1 hit and you're paced. The kid isn't even dodging, and he's punching back barefisted? Against Lunyo? He's insane. Our fists collided. A sharp crack of shattering bone. A scream. Lunyo's massive body rocketed backward, crashing through his own courtyard gate and slamming into the ground. His entire right arm hung limp and broken. He clutched it with his left hand, groaning in agony. The crowd went eerily silent. Lunyo, peak 5-star, ranked 33rd on the heroes list, the Inner Academy's famous body-refining expert with 20,000 gene of arm strength, had just been beaten by a single punch from a peak 4-star newcomer. How is this possible? The crowd couldn't believe their eyes. Lunyo couldn't believe it either. His greatest pride was his raw power, and he had just lost a straight contest of strength. You use a staff. Why did you punch me? He asked, dazed and dripping with sweat from the pain. Everyone looked at me, wondering the same thing. You're right, I use a staff. The reason I didn't use it is because I was afraid. Afraid? Afraid I'd kill you with 1 hit. My words hung in the air. The crowd's expressions turned strange. Before seeing that punch, they would have called me delusional. But Lunyo's shattered arm was right there in front of them. I was probably telling the truth. Everyone swallowed hard. The way they looked at me shifted to something much more respectful. Remember the name. Suba. I looked around at all of them, hands behind my back. Then I added, but if you want to be more affectionate, you can call me Baba. Baba sounded just like Daddy in Chinese. Black lines appeared on every forehead in the crowd. A few disciples looked ready to cough blood. I turned to Lunyo and looked down at him. You're hurt pretty bad. Probably can't pack your own stuff. Wait outside. I'll toss your things down to you. I walked into the house. After a few steps I paused and called back over my shoulder. Oh, Lunyo, you broke my courtyard gate when you crashed through it. Get it fixed within a day. The gate broke because you threw me through it. Why should I fix it? From inside the house, my voice drifted out. I said fix it. 1 more word and I'll hit you again. Lunyo's face cycled through green and white. A surge of frustration shot from his chest straight to the top of his head, and he fainted on the spot. He actually fainted from anger. This Suba is unbelievable. The heroes list is about to get shaken up. We should start calling him Senior Brother Su. I need to spread the word. There's a monster in the Inner Academy now. The crowd scattered to tell their friends. Only Xia Heng remained, standing perfectly still like a wooden chicken. After a long silence, he muttered to himself, This Suba is absolutely insane. I looked around the house. Much better than my wooden shack, though someone else's belongings were cluttering the place. I turned to the servant standing nervously in the corner. Pack up Lunyo's things and throw them outside. So the house came with a servant. Nice. Yes, sir. He bowed and scrambled to work. I caught him sneaking glances at me, clearly shaken. He had seen plenty of challengers come to Lunyo's door before. They all ended up beaten and begging for mercy. Today his master had been crushed by a single punch and fainted from sheer frustration. The servant's hands moved faster after that. Xia Heng walked in, looking at me with a complicated mix of respect and disbelief. Just 1 month ago, he had escorted a mid-1-star nobody into the academy. now that nobody had become someone even he had to look up to. Perfect timing, I said. The room's almost cleared. Let's go see Elder Hu. He nodded and handed me a blue token, the Inner Academy badge, in exchange for my white Outer Academy one. On the way to the Alchemy Hall, people kept whispering and pointing at me from a distance. I could hear words like monster, genius, and freak. Whenever I turned to look, they scattered. Was I really that scary? You've made quite a name for yourself, Xiahang said. Soon everyone in the Inner Academy will know who you are. You're too kind, I said calmly. Lunyo was just weak. He stared at me. A 33rd ranked Heroes List disciple, and I called him weak. After a pause, he spoke sincerely. Su Ba, your talent might rank in the top 3 in Yuming's entire history. At this rate, surpassing Wen Tianyu, the Inner Academy's #1, is only a matter of time. Wen Tianyu, the Wild Wind Blade, near 7-star Master Realm. I thought about it casually. All right, let's set a small goal then. I'll take him down within 3 months. Xiahang stumbled and nearly face-planted. He gaped at me in disbelief. 3 months to beat the Inner Academy's #1. Only I would say something like that. But despite thinking it sounded absurd, I could tell a small part of him was looking forward to seeing if I could actually pull it off. Xiahang came over to me in the Alchemy Hall. I've passed along your request to Elder Hu. He's a good man, didn't refuse right away and agreed to come meet you. He hesitated, then added, Su Ba, if it turns out you don't have alchemy talent, don't force it. Get back to martial arts. Don't waste your gift. Thank you, Brother Xia. I smiled sincerely and gave him a fist salute. He had looked out for me multiple times now, always with good intentions. I genuinely respected him for that. Calling him Brother Xia instead of Steward Xia made his face light up. He knew I wasn't ordinary, and having my goodwill clearly meant a lot to him. He left the hall practically strutting. I waited, thinking through my reasoning. To reach the peak of martial arts, you needed luck, talent, and resources, especially later on, when advancing required enormous amounts of materials. Alchemy was the most profitable profession out there. If I became a high-level alchemist, I could make any pill I needed, recycle extras for enhancement points, and earn huge amounts of money. It was a perfect complement to hunting beasts in the wild. One active, one calm. Balance. Footsteps approached. An elderly man in white robes walked toward me. Thin face, sharp eyes, calm expression. This had to be Elder Hu. Su Ba greets Elder Hu. I cupped my fists and bowed. He looked me over. You're the one Xiahang recommended? The disciple who wants to study under me. So Xiahang had used his reputation as Outer Academy steward to vouch for me. Another point in his favor. Yes, Elder. I hope you'll accept me. Elder Hu didn't agree right away. Alchemy isn't something you can learn just because you want to. You need the talent for it. Do you understand? I understand. Good. Then let me test your alchemy talent. Follow me. He turned and led the way. Elder Hu led me into a small sealed chamber next to the main hall. In the center stood a dark crystal monument, about as tall as a person. This measures soul talent, he explained flatly, placing a spirit stone into a slot on the monument. To become an alchemist, what matters isn't martial talent, it's soul power. The stronger your soul, the higher your potential in alchemy. This monument has 9 levels. Light up 3 and you qualify as an alchemist. Now lean against it and focus your mind. Soul power? All those soul power boosts I had pulled from the lottery. I was curious to see how they'd measure up. Stop dawdling. My time is limited, Elder Hu said with a slight frown. I could tell he was only doing this as a favor to Xiahang and expected to send me packing quickly. I pressed my back against the monument and closed my eyes. Ready, he activated the formation. White light enveloped me and my mind plunged into a dizzying kaleidoscope. Outside, Elder Hu watched casually. Then red light erupted from the base of the monument and instantly shot past the 3rd level. His eyebrow twitched. Not bad, but before he could finish the thought, the light surged to the 5th level. His eyelid jumped. 5 levels was an excellent rating, 1 in 1,000. The light kept climbing. It hit the 7th level. Elder Hu's jaw dropped. His calm composure vanished completely. 7 levels matched his own soul strength, a 1 in 10,000 talent. Then the red light exploded with such brilliance that it drowned out the formation's white glow entirely. He leaped to his feet, eyes wide with shock. All 9 levels blazed with dazzling red light. The entire monument was lit up from bottom to top. Beyond the 9th level, a once-in-an-era talent, Elder Hu stood frozen, staring at me with eyes burning like fire. An alchemist's potential was directly tied to their soul power. You could train soul power through special techniques, but those were rare and the gains were small. Natural-born soul strength mattered far more. Elder Hu Danxing, had been born with 7th-level soul power and after decades of training still hadn't reached 8th level. Despite being called the greatest alchemist in the Fengwu Kingdom, his talent capped him at barely producing 9th-grade pills. But I was different. Beyond 9th level meant I could potentially create 9th grade or even 10th grade pills, the kind that Hotian realm masters would fight to the death over. When the formation ended and I woke from that kaleidoscope world, Elder Hu was beaming at me. His earlier impatience had completely vanished. Elder Hu, did I pass? Pass? Of course you passed. Your soul talent is truly remarkable, he said warmly. The shift in his attitude told me everything. My soul power was clearly impressive. So, will you accept me as your disciple? I asked directly. Yes, absolutely. I am Hu Danxing, the most renowned 8th grade alchemist in the Fengwu Kingdom. Study under me and you'll reach my level in no time. Respected by millions, he was practically tripping over his words, afraid I might change my mind. His sudden enthusiasm was a bit odd, but I didn't question it. I bowed deeply. Suba greets his master. Good, good. Rise, my disciple. He helped me up, delighted. He tossed me a storage ring. Inside you'll find cultivation resources and a complete guide to pill materials. Go home, memorize that guide thoroughly, then come back and I'll teach you how to refine pills. And make sure to keep raising your cultivation. High-grade pills require dense inner energy to produce. I connected my mind to the ring and nearly went blind from the contents. Besides the thick reference book, there was an enormous pile of spirit stones glowing with blue light. A rough count, at least 500 low-grade spirit stones. Inner Academy disciples earned only 50 per month. My new master was incredibly generous. I was starting to understand what people meant when they said alchemists were ridiculously wealthy. Off you go. I'll be waiting for good news, he said kindly. I thanked him, took the ring, and left the alchemy hall. On my way back, I remembered something. New Inner Academy disciples got a one-time visit to the 2nd floor of the martial arts pavilion to pick a technique. After that, it was once every 3 months. I checked the Jade Tablets map. The pavilion wasn't far from the alchemy hall, so I headed straight there. The 2nd floor meant access to top human tier or even Xian tier techniques. I didn't need another cultivation method. The 9-yang divine art covered that. And my demon-subduing staff was already mastered, with the staff intent still progressing. No rush on a new combat technique. What I really needed was a movement skill. A high-level movement art could boost a warrior's combat power just as much as any weapon technique. I arrived at the pavilion. The same ancient, withered-looking old man sat at the entrance with his eyes half closed, dozing. But the instant I approached, his bony hand shot out for my token. I handed over my blue badge. He examined it briefly. Approved. I bowed respectfully. Something told me this old man was far more powerful than he appeared, a feeling that had grown sharper since my soul power increased. As I turned away, I didn't notice that the old man opened his eyes behind me, his gaze suddenly clear and sharp. He muttered to himself about how I had gone from mid 1-star to peak 4-star in a month, and how my soul perception had nearly seen through him. Another monster following in Qin Juyu's footsteps. On the 2nd floor, I found what I wanted, the Thunderlight Phantom Step. Xian tier upper grade. When activated, the user moved like lightning and could create up to 3 phantom copies to confuse enemies. It was the highest ranked and hardest movement technique on the entire floor. Most talented disciples would need months just to get started with a Xian tier upper grade movement art. But with my perception stat, I wasn't worried. I finished copying the technique and turned to leave. Right at the corner, someone came striding around from the other direction. We slammed into each other. I didn't budge. The other person stumbled back several steps. Who the hell isn't watching where they're going? You looking for a beating? A cold, vicious voice echoed through the 2nd floor. My eyes narrowed. In front of me stood a tall, thin young man with a cold aura. He held a slender saber at his side, its sheath leaking a faint, sharp energy. He glared at me. You're the one who bumped into me? You have 10 seconds. Kneel, bow, and apologize. Are you sure you're talking to me? I said flatly. Who else would I be talking to? He noticed my cultivation level and raised an eyebrow. A peak 4-star dares come to the 2nd floor? That takes nerve. Other disciples on the floor gathered around. Someone recognized him immediately. That's Yuan Tao, ranked 28th on the heroes list. Wait, isn't the one in black Suba? The one who just punched his way past Lu Niu at 33rd? He just beat Lu Niu, and now he's picking a fight with Yuan Tao? Yuan Tao's eyes flickered with recognition. So you're Suba. No wonder your body felt solid when we bumped. Caught me off guard. But don't think I'm as weak as that trash Lu Niu. Do what I said. Now, I smiled coldly. You weren't watching where you were going and crashed into me. And somehow that's my fault? Yuan Tao, 28th on the heroes list. Good. Since we've met, come outside and save me the trouble of finding you later. I turned and walked out of the pavilion. Fighting inside was forbidden. We both knew that. Fine. You want to die? I'll grant your wish. Yuan Tao snarled and followed me out. The second floor erupted. Disciples abandoned their browsing and rushed outside to watch. Some didn't even bother picking a technique. The show came first. We faced each other on an open area outside the pavilion, surrounded by a crowd of eager spectators. I'll make you regret crossing me, Yuan Tao said icily. I looked at him without expression. Then, slowly, I raised my hand in front of everyone. I pointed my thumb downward and pressed it toward the ground. Weakling, weakling. The word hung in the air. Yuan Tao's face turned green with fury. I'll teach you a lesson today. He drew his narrow saber. The blade sang through the air as he charged at me like a phantom, his energy erupting in waves of flashing steel. He was at least 3 times stronger than Lu Niu. His cutting aura made the watching disciples flinch. Yuan Tao's blade work has improved again. His white moon blade technique is fully mastered. Xian-tier lower grade. Can Suba even handle this? I clenched my right fist and threw it forward. 5 acupoints blazing. 24,000 Jin of pure force. My fist punched straight through his wall of blade energy, splitting it clean in half. Over 2 elephants of power. No wonder he crushed Lu Niu. Why doesn't he use that staff on his back? Is it decoration? Apparently he told Lu Niu he was afraid of killing him with it. Yuan Tao laughed wildly. Your strength is decent, but if that's all you've got, you're dead today. His eyes turned savage. He raised his saber high and brought it crashing down with blinding brilliance. The power behind this strike was several times greater than before. A strange, overwhelming pressure radiated from his body. The crowd gasped. Martial intent. The embryonic form of martial intent. He actually touched blade intent through his mastered white moon blade. That strike could flatten a mid-6-star warrior. Suba is finished. Everyone looked at me with pity. Yuan Tao sneered. You thought beating Lu Niu meant you could do anything? Let me teach you what martial intent is. The devastating blade energy reached my head. People were about to look away. Then I spoke. Martial intent? Your beginner-level white moon blade intent dares challenge me. I drew my golden cudgel and swung it down slowly. Minor completion, great wasteland staff intent. An ancient, crushing force exploded from my body. Everyone saw a boundless wasteland stretching to the horizon, and at its center, a colossal iron pillar hundreds of meters tall, piercing toward the clouds. They felt themselves shrinking to nothing before it. My intent had advanced from beginner to minor completion. The phantom pillar had grown from 100 meters to several hundred, nearly punching through the sky itself. The entire crowd froze in shock. Nobody could speak. The demon-subduing staff at full mastery was equivalent to a lower Xian-tier technique. With beginner intent, its power doubled. At minor completion, it quadrupled, far surpassing Yuan Tao's white moon blade with its trace of blade intent. His dazzling blade light shattered like glass under my staff intent. Impossible, Yuan Tao screamed. The great wasteland staff intent broke through his attack and crashed into him. Blood sprayed from his mouth like a machine gun. He flew backward and slammed into the ground over 10 meters away. One strike. Done. Everyone went silent. The outcome had been decided the instant I unleashed my minor completion intent. All eyes locked onto me with awe. Even Yuan Tao at 28th couldn't survive a single exchange. Suba comprehended minor completion intent at peak 4-star, with a technique equivalent to Xian-tier. Going from embryonic to beginner is already incredibly hard. Beginner to minor completion is supposed to take years. He's more of a monster than even Qin Zhiyue. I walked over to Yuan Tao and looked down at him, hands behind my back. Now you know who was truly overestimating themselves. He glared up at me without speaking, hatred burning deep in his eyes. My gaze turned cold. That look in your eyes bothers me. Let me make this clear, stay out of my sight. Every time I see you, I'll beat you again. Weakling. Got it. His face cycled between green and red. his whole body shaking with rage. Weaklings should know their place. If you want more, come find me anytime. I kicked him aside and walked through the crowd without looking back. He spat out another mouthful of blood, struggled to his feet, and stumbled away, humiliated. The news spread through the inner academy like wildfire. Suba had defeated 2 heroes list fighters in a single day. The whole inner academy was shaken. 3 days later, in my courtyard, I stood holding the golden cudgel perfectly still. Then my body flickered. 2 crackling sounds like electricity cut through the air. I appeared 20 meters away in a flash, and where I had been standing, a perfect copy of me materialized out of thin air. The Thunderlight Phantom Step was coming along nicely. Crackling electricity sounded again. I flickered 20 meters away in an instant, and the phantom copy moved to where I had just been standing. When I swung my golden cudgel, the phantom mimicked the exact same motion. No ordinary person could tell which one was real. I let the phantom fade and put the staff on my back, shaking my head. 3 days, and I've only just reached the beginner level of the Thunderlight Phantom Step. A bit slow. If any Inner Academy disciple heard me say that, they would vomit blood. This was an upper Shintier movement technique. Even gifted disciples needed at least a month to reach beginner level. Average ones might not figure it out in 3 months. In those same 3 days, I had also memorized the entire complete guide to pill materials. Easy after recycling the hundreds of spirit stones my master gave me, and using the points to draw more soul power. I had also pulled plenty of perception and strength boosts. My raw power had climbed to 28,200 gene, nearly the strength of 3 elephants. My Great Wasteland Staff Intent had advanced to full completion, and I had leveled up to early 5-star. I checked my panel. Cultivation, early 5-star. Techniques, Demon Subduing Staff and Thunderlight Phantom Step. Intent, Great Wasteland Staff Intent at full completion. Enhancement points, 70. Should I go challenge more people on the heroes list, or visit my master to start learning alchemy? While I was thinking, my servant walked in carrying a white bag, my monthly Inner Academy stipend. But something was off. This was supposed to be hand-delivered by a senior disciple. Why didn't the delivery person come himself? The servant hesitated. Speak. Well, the disciple in charge of deliveries heard your name and refused to come. He kept saying something about a dangerous man. I stared blankly. The servant looked at me with a mix of awe and admiration. Apparently, my reputation in the Inner Academy had become something legendary. I had beaten the 33rd and 28th ranked Heroes List fighters within hours of arriving. Now, the lower-ranked Heroes List disciples were so afraid of running into me that they had stopped wandering around the Inner Academy altogether, hiding behind missions and training trips instead. Being feared to this extent was, I had to admit, a first. I opened the white bag and raised an eyebrow. There were far more than 50 spirit stones inside. My servant explained. Heroes List disciples get much higher stipends based on their ranking. The number 1, Wen Tianyu, earns 200 low-grade spirit stones per month, so the stronger you were, the more resources you received. Yunming designed everything to fuel competition. The Heroes List wasn't just about pride, it meant real wealth. The servant also mentioned something else. The contribution hall reminded me that you need to complete your monthly Inner Academy mission before the end of the month. If you miss it, next month's stipend gets docked. Right, the Jade Tablet mentioned that. Every Inner Disciple had to complete 1 mission per month, slaying monsters, eliminating criminals, gathering materials, and so on. A form of practical training. I decided to visit Elder Hu first to start learning alchemy, then head out on a mission afterward. The sooner I learned, the sooner I could start profiting. On my way to the alchemy hall, every person I passed flinched and darted out of my path. I kept hearing whispered shouts of, the dangerous man, and he's coming. I didn't know whether to laugh or sigh. At the hall, Elder Hu beamed the moment he saw me. Wonderful. You memorized the entire pill materials guide in 3 days. Your soul talent beyond the 9th level truly is extraordinary. His old face was practically glowing. Strong soul power meant strong memory. He understood that much. Then he noticed my cultivation. You've broken through to early 5-star too? Excellent. His smile stretched even wider. He was already dreaming about the future. With my soul talent and cultivation potential, I might become the first person in the entire Fengwu Kingdom to produce 10th grade pills. That required both Hotian Realm cultivation and 9th level soul power. I had the soul talent covered, and then some. Elder Hu had been so absorbed in his alchemy that he had no idea about the chaos I had caused in the Inner Academy. To him, I was simply a gifted disciple with limitless potential. Come, come. A natural-born alchemist like you shouldn't wait another moment. Let me teach you right away. He led me into the alchemy room next door and closed the door behind us. Before we start refining pills, let me explain a few important things you need to remember. Elder who began his lesson. Before refining pills, you need 3 things: a furnace, materials, and a flame. He pointed proudly at a half-man-tall square cauldron. This is my Shin-tier upper-grade furnace, the Sun Sky Furnace, the finest in the entire Fengwu Kingdom. It boosts my pill success rate by a full 10%. Impressive, I said, nodding along. Privately, I found it a little amusing. 10%. My alchemy mastery talent alone gave me a 50% boost to success rate, yield, and quality. If he knew about that, he'd probably faint. He went on about materials. Older herbs and higher-grade beast blood improved the potency of finished pills. Then he covered pill flames. Ordinary fire, earth fire, exotic fire. Each grade better at purifying impurities and boosting quality. I listened carefully. This was all connected to making money, after all. Did you remember everything? Yes. Good. Now watch me demonstrate. I'll refine a basic first-grade tempering pill. A tempering pill was the simplest first-grade pill used to strengthen children's bodies. For an 8th-grade alchemist like Elder Hu, it was nothing. In no time, a sweet medicinal fragrance rose from the furnace. He opened the lid to reveal 10 pale red pills. 10 pills, 83% potency fusion, he said with a modest sigh. I'm a bit rusty. I used to get 13 or 14 per batch at over 90% fusion. He was clearly showing off for his new student. I played along with an impressed expression, which made him beam. Your turn now. Don't worry. I'll guide you if you forget any steps. We swapped places. I added each ingredient to the furnace in perfect order. Elder Hu nodded approvingly and started giving tips. Control the temperature carefully. Extend your soul power and feel the changes in the medicinal energy. Don't rush. Any fluctuation in your soul power could ruin the whole batch or even cause the furnace to explode. For a beginner's first attempt, failure is completely normal. After a few failures, before he could finish, a rich medicinal fragrance floated up from the furnace lid. It's done already. Elder Hu's eyelid twitched. He looked utterly baffled. I think so, I said. My soul power could sense through the furnace. I could already see round pills inside. I opened the lid. Elder Hu took one look and his eyes nearly popped out. 15 pills. Potency fusion. 93%. Extreme quality pills that exceed 90% fusion. His voice cracked. He stared at me like I was some kind of freak. Shock, disbelief, confusion. His face cycled through them all. On my very first attempt, I had surpassed his personal best record for tempering pills. A normal beginner would be lucky to produce 5 pills at 60% fusion. He remembered his own first time. Multiple explosions before finally producing 2 pills at 30% fusion. His master had praised him as exceptionally talented for that. And here I was. First try, 15 pills at 93%. Again. Do it again, he said, barely containing himself. I didn't mind. Each batch came easier as I got the hang of it. My powerful soul force combined with the alchemy mastery talent kicked in fully. Second batch, 16 pills, 95% fusion. Third, 18 pills, 94%. Fourth, 18 pills, 96%. Fifth, 17 pills, 97%. Elder Hu's mind was breaking. Once could be luck, but batch after batch, never dropping below 15 pills or 90% fusion. That was pure skill. At one point I could tell he was actually hoping I would fail, just once, so the world would make sense again. By the 9th batch, he waved me away weakly. Enough. Go home. I need a few days to recover. I want to be alone. He looked utterly defeated. I bowed and left the alchemy room, wondering if I had been a little too impressive and accidentally crushed my master's confidence. A few steps outside, I heard maniacal laughter erupt from behind a closed door. The greatest alchemist in the entire eastern region, no, in all 18 kingdoms, will be trained by Manhwa hands. Wah! The laughter was so loud that every disciple in the alchemy hall could hear it. They looked at each other nervously, wondering if Elder Hu had finally lost his mind. On my way to the contribution hall, disciples kept flinching and backing away when they saw me coming. That's Suba. Black clothes, cold face, fierce eyes, the dangerous man. He beat the 33rd ranked Lu Niu and then crushed the 28th ranked Yuan Tao on the same day. Don't make eye contact. He might beat you up just for looking. My face darkened. I felt like a villain in some story. Was I really that terrifying? I shook my head and kept walking. Then a cold shout stopped me. Suba? Stop right there. I turned around. 3 people were marching toward me. 2 I recognized. Lu Niu, the bull-like body refiner, and Yuan Tao, the cold-faced saber user. Both had been beaten by me days ago. The third one stood between them. I didn't know him, but his aura was clearly stronger than either of theirs. Someone higher on the heroes list. The crowd gasped. That's Chu Yu, ranked 25th. 3 heroes list fighters coming after Suba together. Yuan Tao must have called Chu Yu for backup. Chu Yu pointed at me. Is this the one? That's him. Yuan Tao nodded firmly. Before Chu Yu could say anything, I looked at Yuan Tao with narrowed eyes. Didn't I tell you? Every time I see you, I beat you. Looks like you forgot already. Yuan Tao's face changed. The memory of his humiliating defeat flashed through his mind, and he instinctively stepped back. Chu Yu stepped forward with a cold snort. So you've comprehended minor completion intent. Don't get too cocky. There are plenty of people stronger than you. I smiled and gave him a dismissive glance. You must be the backup they called. Not much to look at. His face twisted with rage. Before he could respond, I beckoned all 3 of them with a wave of my hand. Sorry, I'm in a hurry. Why don't all 3 of you come at me at once? The crowd erupted. 3 on 1. Was I insane? Lu Niu, Yuan Tao, and Chu Yu were furious at the disrespect. But if they actually attacked me together, they would lose face. Heroes list fighters ganging up on one newcomer would be humiliating. Chu Yu was smart. Despite coming to teach me a lesson, his instincts were telling him I was dangerous. After a tense pause, he made his decision. Don't get too cocky, Suba. The Inner Academy's half-year tournament is coming soon. I'll show you what I can do then. He turned and walked away with his chin held high. Yuan Tao was baffled. This wasn't the plan. Chu Yu was supposed to help him get revenge, but he could feel my icy stare on his back. Without turning around, he chased after Chu Yu with forced laughter. Wait up, Brother Chu. Lu Niu broke into a nervous sweat and hurried after them. The 3 of them vanished. The crowd stared in disbelief. Chu Yu, back down? Suba's presence scared off 3 heroes list fighters. The dangerous man strikes again. Everyone scattered the moment I glanced their way. I was left standing there with a black line across my forehead. Seriously? I headed into the contribution hall and scanned the mission board. Most tasks were simple but time-consuming. Cleaning, low-level beast hunting, bandit clearing. The contribution points earned could be exchanged for spirit stones or pills. Then one mission caught my eye. Collection. Gather 10 stalks of century crystal flower near Cloud Mist Mountain. Note. High difficulty. Not recommended below peak 5-star. Reward. 50 contribution points. The difficulty came from dangerous terrain and how hard the flowers were to find. But Cloud Mist Mountain had wild beasts too. Perfect for hunting and training while searching. The reward was excellent. I took the mission immediately and headed out. Meanwhile, back at the Inner Academy, a towering figure with wild yellow hair and an intimidating presence was storming into the alchemy hall, carrying a massive red iron staff and looking absolutely furious. While I was heading toward Cloud Mist Mountain, things were getting explosive back at the alchemy hall. A towering old man with wild yellow hair stormed into the hall carrying a massive red iron staff. His waist bore a purple token, the mark of an elder. This was Elder Xiao Bao, the staff arts master the headmaster had originally assigned to be my teacher. Elder Xiao. Disciples bowed nervously as he blew past them without a glance. He stopped in front of Elder Hu's private alchemy chamber and bellowed loud enough to shake the entire building. Hu Danqing, you turtle spawn. Get out here. Elder Hu kicked open his door and stormed out, furious. Are you insane, Xiao Bao? I was refining an 8th grade blood lotus pill, and your screaming made my furnace explode. Those materials took me months to collect. What is wrong with you? Elder Xiao glared at him with murder in his eyes. You've got nerve, stealing my disciple. One more word, and I'll smash your precious hall to pieces. Stealing? I don't care about your martial arts students. Go bother someone else. Don't play dumb. You took on a new disciple a few days ago. Elder Hu's face changed as he realized who Xiao Bao meant. Then his expression hardened. So you're after my brilliant student. Forget it. He's a born alchemist. You're not taking him. Born alchemist? He's a born warrior. His talent exceeds even Qin Jiyue's. He could reach the legendary Xiantian realm within 10 years. And you've got him making pills? That's criminal. Elder Zhao's hair was practically standing on end with rage. The entire alchemy hall stood frozen, watching two of Yunming's most prestigious elders screaming at each other over a single disciple. People whispered in disbelief. A born alchemist and a born warrior? Someone who could reach Xiantian within a decade? Who on earth was this disciple? While I was off on my mission, Elder Xiao Bao's fury had reached its peak back at the alchemy hall. His forehead veins throbbed as he glared at Elder Hu. The headmaster personally assigned Su Ba to me. I waited 3 days wondering why he hadn't come, and then I find out he went and became your disciple instead. Nobody has ever stolen from me before. Hu Danxing, the disciples in the hall gasped. So it was Su Ba, the feared newcomer who had crushed 2 heroes list fighters in one day. Elder Hu frowned. You all know Su Ba? A brave disciple explained everything. How I had been specially recruited into the inner academy at Peak 4-star, punched Lu Niu into defeat on arrival, then smashed Yuan Tao with one staff strike on the same day. How heroes list fighters now went out of their way to avoid me. Elder Hu's eyes went wide. He hadn't realized his new disciple was that powerful in combat. Elder Xiao jumped on this. Now you see, I think he might be a child of martial heaven, born to fight. He entered Yunming at mid 1-star and hit peak 3-star in 1 month. Then he experienced enlightenment and broke through to peak 4-star instantly. He comprehended the Great Wasteland Staff intent at peak 3-star and reached minor completion. An 8-star alchemist like you has no business being his master. Only I, Yunming's strongest fighter, am worthy of teaching him. He uses a staff just like me. Heaven itself sent him to be my disciple. Nonsense. Elder Hu's face went black. Fine, his martial talent is shocking. I'll give you that. But his alchemy talent is something I have never seen in my entire life. Soul power beyond the 9th level. He shattered my personal records on his very first attempt at pill making. Under my guidance as the kingdom's greatest 8th-grade alchemist, he won't just dominate the 3 kingdoms. He'll rule the alchemy world across all 18 kingdoms. He pointed at the door. And Su Ba chose to come to me on his own. I am his master. Get out of my hall. Elder Zhao's fury peaked. His terrifying aura exploded outward, making the entire hall creak and groan. Weaker disciples were forced to their knees, faces white. Let Su Ba become my disciple, and I'll leave, he said flatly. In your dreams, Elder Hu shot back. Then don't blame me for what happens next. Elder Zhao's power surged again, the full force of a peak Hotian realm master. The hall shook. Disciples panicked, certain he was about to tear the building apart. Then a calm, ethereal voice drifted in from the distance. That's enough, Elder Xiao. A flash, and a tall, elegant figure appeared before everyone. White robes, a gentleman's sword at his hip. Composed and refined. The headmaster. Everyone exhaled with relief. Elder Xiao immediately complained. Headmaster, the disciple you assigned to me was stolen by this pill maker. I came to get him back, and he refuses. The headmaster smiled patiently, well accustomed to Elder Zhao's temper. We're all family here. Let's not damage that. I did recommend Su Ba to you, Elder Xiao, but he chose Elder Hu on his own. And I must say, learning that he has extraordinary alchemy talent was a surprise to me as well. I heard everything you both said. Su Ba is currently out on a mission. When he returns, let him decide for himself. Elder Hu protested. Headmaster, Su Ba already accepted me as his master. Good. It's settled then. Elder Xiao cut in with a cold grin. The boy hasn't seen what I can offer yet. Once he does, he'll realize martial arts is his true calling, not boiling herbs. He glared at Elder Hu one last time and stormed out. Elder Hu fumed but held his tongue, understanding the headmaster's difficult position. He bowed and retreated into his alchemy chamber. The headmaster's eyes flickered with thought before he vanished from the hall. With the 3 powerhouses gone, the disciples finally relaxed. They looked at each other in awe. Su Ba had just caused the academy's 3 most important figures, the headmaster and 2 legendary elders, to clash over him. Meanwhile, I was walking toward Cloud Mist Mountain, completely unaware that my simple decision to study alchemy had set off such a storm. Cloud Mist Mountain stood alone near the Beast Mountains, a single peak, thousands of meters tall and wildly majestic. Its base was covered by a massive forest stretching over 10 kilometers, filled with ancient trees so wide it took 5 or 6 people to wrap their arms around one. Halfway up, clouds and mist drifted year-round, making it look like a fairyland. But this was no tourist spot. The mountain's signature cloud lion beasts would quickly teach any casual visitor a fatal lesson. For warriors, though, it was a treasure trove, rich in spiritual energy, perfect for growing rare herbs and flowers, with no beasts above level 6 ever recorded. I walked through the forest searching for the century crystal flowers I needed for my mission. I spotted plenty of younger ones, 8 or 10 years old, but those were too low-grade to bother with. I never took more than I needed. Let them grow for someone else. The forest floor was dark under the massive canopy, thick vines hanging down like giant snakes. Large beasts moved through the trees around me, snapping branches under heavy feet. I didn't avoid any of them. Every beast I encountered got a single swing of my golden cudgel. Dead. Recycled. With the staff weighing 13,500 gene, plus my own 28,000 gene of strength, even a level 6 beast would have its skull caved in. These outer area creatures topped out at level 3, 0 pressure. After a few hours, I hadn't found a single century crystal flower, but I had earned over 1,000 enhancement points from beast corpses. The mission was secondary anyway. I came here mainly to hunt and grow stronger. I pushed deeper into the forest. Then my ears caught the faint sounds of fighting ahead. In places like this, you had to watch out for more than just beasts. Some warriors lurked in remote areas to rob and kill, then destroy the evidence. If there were criminals up ahead, I might earn some bonus loot, just like those 2 bandits in the Beast Mountains who had contributed nicely to my growth. Anyone training in this forest would be around 5-star at most. No threat to me. Even a level 6 beast wouldn't be a serious problem. I activated the Thunderlight Phantom Step. A faint crackle of electricity, and my body vanished from the spot. I moved through the undergrowth until the sounds of combat became clear. About 100 meters ahead in a forest clearing, 4 warriors were locked in a fierce fight. 3 of them wore matching gold shirts with Gene tokens at their waists. 2 men and 1 woman from some academy I didn't recognize. The woman was early 5-star, the younger man mid 5-star, and the older one peak 5-star. Despite outnumbering their opponent 3-1, they were losing. A blue-clad young man wielding a massive axe was pressing all 3 of them back with devastating strikes. He was late 5-star, but fought with the precision and power of someone much stronger. Behind the fight, a yellow-clad young man watched with a smug grin, arms crossed. "Brother, just give up and die already. My hired fighter is pretty impressive, don't you think?" he called out, laughing. "Wu Chi, you're insane," the older gold-shirt man shouted while fighting. "Trying to kill your own brother. When Father finds out, you'll face the harshest clan punishment. Don't worry, Father will never find out," Wu Chi replied with a cruel smile. "You're the firstborn, you're more talented than me. If you die, the Wu family inheritance goes to me. Accidents happen during training missions, right? I'll kill you, destroy the evidence, and no one will know. The other guy dies too. As for the girl," he leered, "she's pretty. I'll have some fun first." "Despicable, shameless," Wu Chi laughed wildly. "Yeah, I'm shameless. So what? My hired help here is a top 3 fighter from Cloud Star Academy, way stronger than your little Jin Xiang Academy. Today you die on this mountain, big brother, and all the family's resources become mine." The older brother was trapped. He wanted to charge at Wu Chi, but the blue-clad axe fighter gave him no room. One moment of distraction, and that axe would split him in 2. Even with his 2 companions helping, they couldn't hold on much longer. Wu Chi called out to the blue-clad fighter, "Hey, Brother Chu, stop playing around. Finish them off already." The blue-clad fighter, Liao Chu, shook his head with contempt. "These 3 are too weak. Boring." His eyes sharpened. Energy erupted from his body as he raised his massive axe high. Mountain Splitter, a devastating blow crashed down on all 3 gold-shirt fighters at once. Their weapons flew from their hands. They screamed and tumbled backward, slamming into the ground, coughing up blood. 1 strike, 3 seriously wounded. Wu Chi rushed over to flatter his hired muscle. Liao Chu cut him short. "Save the talk. Per our deal, you can do whatever you want with those 3, but their valuables are mine. And don't forget the resources you promised me. Or else." Wu Chi nodded frantically. Liao Chu was a top 3 fighter from Cloud Star Academy. He could crush Wu Chi with 1 hand. Then Liao Chu suddenly noticed me standing not far away. He tensed. He hadn't sensed me approaching from 100 meters out. But seeing my early 5-star cultivation, he relaxed, assuming he had simply been careless. "Sorry, carry on," I said casually, waving my hand. I turned to leave. Family power struggles weren't my business. I didn't feel like getting involved. Stop. Liao Chu's cold voice came from behind. You've seen our deal. You think you can just walk away? I can pretend I didn't see anything, I said calmly, turning back with my hands behind me. I'd suggest you don't push your luck. Wu Qi burst out laughing. Did I hear that right? This early 5-star nobody just told us not to push our luck? He must be an idiot. Who wanders into the deep part of Cloud Mist Mountain alone at early 5-star? Liao Chu's expression darkened. Kid, I was going to take your storage ring and let you live. Now it seems like you actually want to die. Sigh. Isn't being alive nice? I shook my head. Some people just don't value their own lives. The 3 wounded fighters from Jinxiang Academy stared at me in disbelief. A 5-star beginner with this much confidence. They had just lost 3-on-1 against Liao Chu. This guy had to be out of his mind. Liao Chu's face went completely dark. He drew his massive axe again, its blade gleaming with cold light, his aura surging. I wasn't impressed. I beckoned him with one finger. Come die. Wu Qi couldn't stand it anymore. This kid is too arrogant. I'll handle him. He pulled out a long blade and charged at me, leaping into the air with his full mid-5-star power, his sword blazing red as he aimed for my head. I'll cut you in half, he screamed, laughing. His blade was 3 inches from my skull when he saw my foot suddenly filling his entire field of vision. One kick. The laughter stopped. Wu Qi rocketed backward faster than he had charged in, flying over 10 meters before slamming into a tree and sliding to the ground. He was dead. My kick had caved in his skull on impact. The clearing went silent. The 3 Jinxiang fighters gaped at me. They couldn't believe I had killed Wu Qi instantly. Fast. He struck after Wu Qi, but landed first. Wu Qi couldn't even react. Liao Chu stared, shocked. Then fury overtook him. Wu Qi dead meant his promised reward of 1,000 spirit stones was gone. You killed him. My payment. His face twisted with rage. You die. He charged at me in a frenzy. Liao Chu unleashed his strongest attack, Mountain Splitter. His massive axe blazed with blue light as it came crashing down with earth-shaking force. The same move that had crushed all 3 Jinxiang fighters in one blow. The pretty girl from Jinxiang screamed and turned away. Wu Hua and the other young man looked aside too, unable to watch me get split in half. They heard a massive impact, a scream, and something flying past them. Then silence. They slowly looked up, expecting to see my mangled body. Instead, I stood exactly where I had been, staff in hand, expression calm, breathing steady. Not a scratch. Their heads turned stiffly toward the other direction. Liao Chu lay on the ground, eyes wide open, chest completely caved in, heart burst. Dead. The clearing went absolutely silent. The 3 Jinxiang fighters couldn't even process what had happened. Liao Chu, a top 3 fighter from Cloud Star Academy, late 5-star with the real combat power of a peak 5-star elite, had been killed in a single exchange by someone at early 5-star. Then Wu Hua's eyes caught the blue token hanging from my waist. His whole body jolted. That's a Yunming Academy Inner Disciple token. He's from Yunming's Inner Academy. The other 2 gasped. Yunming, the strongest academy in the Fengwu Kingdom. Inner Disciples were the elite of the elite, virtually unbeatable within their cultivation level. No wonder he came to the deep forest alone. No wonder Liao Chu didn't stand a chance. He's a true genius, Wu Hua murmured. He pushed through his injuries, walked over, and bowed respectfully. Thank you for saving us. Don't mention it. It was nothing, I said, putting my staff away. I walked over and collected the bodies and storage rings of both Wu Qi and Liao Chu into my storage space. They had brought this on themselves. At least they contributed to my enhancement point collection. The girl and the other young man started to bow as well,